check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents freedom brand. Yeah.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show. Only.
The fan
It's the most wonderful time of the year. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages, I welcome you to Basketball Christmas. I welcome you to one of, if not the single best back-to-back sports days on the calendar. My friends, I welcome you in to the day that we have all been ever so patiently waiting for. You know, all good things must come to an end. But if you're really, really lucky, those good things will end in a blaze of glory. And there is nothing on planet Earth that is more, for as long as it is, for as many hours as it is over the next 4 days, there is nothing that is as exciting as days 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the NCAA Men's National Championship and Women's National Championship basketball tournaments. You know, it is the Super Bowl that holds America's attention every year. Sure. We all love the quest for the Stanley Cup. Sure. We all love the World Series. Sure. I think baseball's postseasons on both the college and professional levels are arguably the best playoffs of any sports anywhere. We love all of these things. And while I do not necessarily think that the field of 64 is indeed the best way to figure out who is the best basketball team in America, it damn sure is the most fun. Happy basketball Christmas, my friends. Welcome in. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. It is Thursday. It is basketball day number 1. My friends, my name is Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, out on vacation this week, will resume his regularly scheduled, job coming up on Monday. However, all this week went to the bullpen, called in the 6'4", 185-pound heat-throwing righty, Brandon filling in. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? Let's get it. Hey, I got that sleep last night. Oh, boy, did it feel good.
Game changer.
Oh, is it ever?
I stayed up until the end of the Boise State Colorado game last night. It was somehow both incredibly compelling and wildly boring at the exact same thing. It was impressive, to be honest with you. Like, on one hand, baskets were at a premium. For about 33 minutes of that basketball contest, nobody could knock down a triple. It didn't keep them from trying. There were guys making dumb mistakes here or there. There were guys that were playing offense that I despised. And then somehow, late in the contest, they figured it out. Somehow, late in the contest, despite an incredibly bad offensive start for the Colorado Buffaloes, they got it done 60-53 against Boise State. They go dancing, and they will take on the mighty, mighty Gators of Florida in tomorrow's second half of the first round of the NCAA tournament. Like I said, I don't necessarily think it is the best way to dictate and determine a national champion. But damn if college basketball is not awesome during tournament season. I mean, it's awesome year round, but for whatever reason, I can't get y'all to watch it during the regular season. Call me a college basketball hipster if you want to, because I am. But it's good all year, and now it's about to get great. The Buffs get it done last night, going just 4 of 15 from behind the arc. The only reason they won this game, because Boise State couldn't have found the bottom of the bucket with a rope ladder and a helmet light. 34% from the floor on 23 of 67 shooting. They went 2 of 18 from deep, good for 11% from 3. And they only got 6 free throws on the game. 6 free throws, 5 of 6 from the charity stripe last night. Not a great night for Boise State. Had their chances, had plenty of chances. In fact, they were able to come back and grab about a 4-point lead yesterday evening on the way to ultimately defeat at the hands of the Colorado Deion Sanderses, but just couldn't figure out how to put the brown thing in the round thing. And how many times did we say yesterday when we looked at the brackets, which we're going to go through again today. We're going to look at the brackets. I'm actually going to run through and kind of give you guys a look, because as I said I would, yesterday afternoon, I sat down to fill out the bracket. And yesterday afternoon, I got the opportunity to host a show called You Better You Bet on the BetQL Network alongside PJ Glasser. PJ Glasser, the Glass Man, as we call him, is one of the most knowledgeable sports betting dudes that I know. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fill out a preliminary bracket. Then I'm gonna do this show with PJ, and PJ's gonna tell me stuff that I maybe haven't thought about yet. So I went through the bracket with PJ. I put together a bracket that I really liked. I got to the end of the show. I finished the show. I opened up the bracket, and then I went, no, I hate it. And I wiped it clean and said, I'm going to start over again. So then, Brandon, I filled out the bracket again at about 10:30 last night. The lady friend and I got done with some dinner. I watched the Greenville Triumph go on the road over to Columbia, get a 1-0 win over SC United, the Bantams, to move on to round 2 of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup Championship Tournament. And then I sat down and I said, all right, Rob. And I cracked the knuckles. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Ah, sweet.
Yeah, that was pretty loud.
Cracked the knuckles, opened up the laptop, busted back out the bracket, and filled it out again. And I thought, all right, great. Get it filled out. Make it happen.
Are you the one that puts it like 5 computers and has like details of every team? So you kind of pull together like all the numbers and
I'll tell you my setup I had going last night. I had a laptop on a stand, a laptop under the stand, the tablet on a stand, another tablet on a stand, the cell phone on a stand. I was working with 6 screens last night, looking up numbers.
6, wow.
Looking up stats, looking up trends, looking up patterns. I had 6 screens going last night, trying to just dig up every bit of information that I could find to put together a bracket that gives me the chance. It's not just about, let's call it what it is. It's not just about being good in the bracket competition. There is an added layer of pressure on me that there is not on all of you that are in the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge, which, by the way, if you'd like to be, email me, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, request an invite. I will send you an invite to join the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge. You have, my dear friends, just a few hours left to get your brackets submitted, which, by the way, let me finish that story. You have 6 hours, by the way. 6 hours to lock your bracket in. 6 screens going last night. That I was left, I was right, I was up, I'm down. I'm like trying to figure out, all right, what do I like? What don't I like? Filled out the bracket with 6 screens at about 10:30 last night. hovered the submit button, glanced back at the bracket and went, no, I hate it, and deleted it again. Did it a third time. I filled out a bracket 3 times last night. I've done it once already this morning, which I have since deleted again. And here's the thing. The majority of these things are like little changes here and there, right? Like little changes here and there. It's not like I'm flipping over and around and upside down and, coming up with wildly different things every time. It's more along the lines of, I'll look over here and it's like, all right, I end up with a Auburn-UConn Sweet 16 match. And I'm thoroughly convinced Auburn can win that game. And then I go listen to PJ Glasser talk about whatever, and he gives me some ridiculous stat or number that I had never thought of. And I go, okay, UConn's going to win this. And then I flip around and I look over, and all of a sudden the SEC net has Auburn, Alabama from 3 weeks ago on TV. And I'm like, maybe I'm overreacting to UConn here. I do think Auburn really is the better team. So then I move and I flip it back. And every time I do that, it not only changes my Sweet 16, it changes my Elite 8, it changes my Final Four. Now I got to change those 2 games just to go back, reset my Sweet 16, and go back to, it's chaos. It's chaos. And as Joey just pointed out on the text line, I haven't watched a single men's game this year, so you better not lose to me, lol. This is what I'm saying. I have an immense amount of pressure on me because I had better be inside the top so many, right? If I'm not inside the top so many, it's not that that's bad, because here's the thing. By the way, Yamamoto is getting clobbered in his Dodgers debut. Getting clobbered. Xander Bogaerts had a leadoff. He plunked Tatis Jr. Cronenworth just drove out to right. And without recording an out, Yamamoto's down 2-0 to the Fathers already. Not a great start for him. All right, we'll talk baseball as San Diego up a deuce on the LA Dodgers over in Korea. This game counts, y'all. So if I don't get this bracket right, I've got in this bracket group, I've got a couple of best friends. I've got a fiance. I've got a little brother. I've got not one, not two, but 3 different producers, including the great one, Lonzo, who loves nothing more than pooping all over college basketball all the way up till March. If any of these folks beat me, there are 365 days that I have to listen to that crap. 365 days of, and I don't want to deal with that. So there's additional pressure on me. And I'm not going to lie, I'm sweating the pressure. Yesterday, I had one bracket that I was about to submit on that had not 1, not 2, but 3 4 seeds in the Final Four. I had 3 4 seeds in a 1. I had one bracket that I put together. I had 0 1 seeds in the Final Four. Felt real good about it. Till I didn't. Got rid of that, went back. Next one, I had 3 1 seeds in the Final Four. Like, this bracket is good. The East region is wild. It's wild. UConn's over there. FAU Northwestern might turn out to be one of the best basketball games you've never watched. UAB Auburn, an all-Alabama matchup. By the way, I put together a bracket yesterday that had an Auburn v. Alabama Final Four matchup. Yes, please. But also, can't pick it because that's what you want to see. Got to pick it because that's what you think you're going to see. I love filling out brackets. And I put together legitimately since Tuesday, I have probably readdressed my bracket 15 times, 16 times. Minimum, I put together 15 brackets so far. None of them submitted because, hey, it's the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge. You get one bracket, dudes. You get one bracket, all right? None of this crap where you fill out 9, 10, 11 brackets and you hope one of them hits. No. You get one. Keep in mind, if you pick the national champion correctly, you're probably going to be real close to winning that thing. Like, nobody who incorrectly picks the national champ is going to win, because there will be one person at the minimum who picks a national champion, right? There will be at least one person who picks the national champ. And assuming that they don't have the worst first and second round run of all time, they're going to be just fine. They're going to be just fine. So this thing is wild. Mike just said, I filled out 7 different brackets. Yeah, I've addressed mine 15. Now, in the Rob Brown Show pool, you better only have one bracket. All right, Mike? If I look through here, and let me tell you, if I find any of you, okay, if I look through and I find any of you that have multiple brackets in here, I am deleting one. And I'm going to delete the one that I think is the best, okay? I'm going to delete the one that I think is the best. All right. I will let you know that if you were in the bracket challenge, as we have mentioned, you have 5 hours, 58 minutes, and 53 seconds until the bracket's locked. So if you sent in a request, if you got your official bracket, you better get in there and you better get it filled out this morning. And I am going to help you, because coming up later on in the radio show, we are going to look up and down. And we're not going to spend all the time in the world on the numbers and the matchups and the stats and all that. I'm just going to give you a handful of thoughts on each one of them. And we are going to come up with some selections. We're going to see where you guys are struggling. I'll give you some thoughts. I'll tell you where I am. I'll get you yours. A lot of basketball on the show today, but not only basketball on the show today. Because much like Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter, we got nothing but time now. We'll tell you about a wild story out of Major League Baseball, and one that I find very, very interesting. San Diego up a deuce on LA right now, 2-0 Fathers with runners on the corners and no outs. Yamamoto already up to 17 pitches before he's recorded a single out in the first inning. We're talking some baseball later in the show. It is going to be a good 4 hours of above average sports talk entertainment. I am Rob Brown, Brandon in for Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate.
Coming up on a Friday Eve episode of Offsides with Mark Ryan and Diesel. Clemson wants out of the ACC. So
Rob.Brown at thefanupstate.com.
Plus Jake Crate and so much more, all on a Friday Eve episode of Offsides with Mark Ryan and Diesel.
Number 1 for real afternoon sports talk.
Offsides with Mark Ryan.
3 to 7 on the Fan. The Fan.
Upstate.
From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Weather Center, here's the Carolinas' most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. Sunshine today with our high near 70. Partly cloudy overnight with a low around 48. Some rain showers are likely on Friday, cloudy with a high of 57, and showers and thunderstorms continue Friday night with a low around 51. More rain on Saturday, cloudy with a high of 65, and rain Saturday night. I'm meteorologist Carol Foster on the Fan Upstate. Currently, it's 50 degrees.
There's something remarkable about the University of South Carolina. It's in the labs, where researchers are discovering ways to make communities healthier and stronger. It's in the nation's best first-year student experience and top-ranked programs in nursing and health sciences. It's where more South Carolina students have access to higher education than ever before. Because when you stand for something bigger than yourself, you can create something that benefits us all. Behold, the remarkable we.
Your morning jolt of sports. It's the Rob Brown Show.
Joining us here on the radio show to discuss the future Spartanburg baseball program, he is the new general manager, Tyson Jeffers. Tyson, welcome in, buddy. Thanks for taking a few minutes. Glad to have you, pal.
Of course. Good morning, Rob.
Tyson, listen, I'm just a loud guy with a microphone, but I get to play the role of investigative journalist. Are you going to drop a hint on the name? It is the question.
When are we going to find the name out?
More than anything else.
Yeah.
I can only tell you the answer is soon, but not too soon.
I don't want that to be the case here. I want when it's dropped. That's the first time anyone's
thought about it, anyone heard of it.
So we couldn't say, is it a bird? Is it a land animal? Is it an inanimate object? We couldn't ask you that.
I would not give you any hints, or I would try not to.
Don't hit snooze, hit play. The Rob Brown Show, now morning 6 to 10 on The Fan.
The Fan Upstate.
Now, during Staples Print Big Sale, get $20 off your print purchase of $100 or more, $50 off your print purchase of $200 or more, and $100 off your print purchase of $300 or more. So the more you print at Staples, the more you save. To demonstrate, print at Staples, you save. But if you print at Staples, you save. See how that works? Staples Print Big Sale. Print more, save more, up to $100. And Sports Visit staples.com/print for details.
Hey everybody, it's Boomer Esiason here, and eBay Motors has everything you need to keep your ride or die alive. From superchargers, brakes, exhaust kits, and more. With over 122 million parts, eBay Motors levels your baby up to its peak performance. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home the win. Keep your ride or die alive at eBay Motors.
15 seconds.
Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Sponsored by Jeff Martin Auctioneers. Jeff Martin Auctioneers presents the East Coast Construction and Transportation Public Auction in Pelzer on Thursday, March 28th. Bid your way live on site or online. JeffMartinAuctioneers.com. Experience the difference. License 4283.
Nobody saw it.
That'd have been bad.
Nobody saw it. Shut up. Nothing happened. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. My name is Rob Brown. Over on the other side of the metaphorical glass, Brandon filling in for Lonzo. A couple of outs recorded for the LA Dodgers during the break by Yamamoto, but San Diego also plated one more. They have made it all the way down to the 7 spot in the lineup through the first inning so far. 2 down, man on second, and Campusano is at the dish up against Yamamoto, who is already at 30 pitches and has not yet escaped the first inning. Willie here, that's going to be a slow roller, and it's fair down the line into left field. So the Dodgers going to play another one, and the $312 million man's ERA is infinity sign in his Dodgers debut so far. Will the Dodgers go to the pen this early in the game for a guy that they're paying over a quarter billy to?
He's only the last 2/3. That's crazy.
I was going to say he might not. Yeah, that's a fair ball. Sure is. Absolutely was. Not a question mark. So the Dodgers get another one. I'm going to say that's probably going to be ruled a base hit down the third base line. Mike could have got a glove over there for Lux, but they did not. So 4-0 San Diego, trying to get it back. Here's the crazy thing from yesterday. And I got other stuff I want to get to here, but sometimes baseball is just cruel. Yesterday, we're in the top of the 8th. The Dodgers are, on paper, very good on paper. On paper, they are very good. And so yesterday, they go up against San Diego. Now, San Diego is a very interesting team because, as we talked about last year, San Diego's a team that also on paper should be good. There was no reason for them to be as bad as they were last year, right? So San Diego comes up last night, or I guess yesterday morning. It's been 24 hours since we started baseball. Yesterday morning, we got a tied baseball game. In the 8th inning, Dodgers out on the Dodgers at the dish. They got a man on second. They got an out here. Opportunity to put one away. You got to force. I think they had a man on first and second. Needed an out. Force an any bag. And I don't even know how to set it up. This happened. Wow is right. As Yamamoto now gives up another single. Wade takes him out to right field. Compsino will score from second. It's 5-0 San Diego. In the top of the first with no outs.
6-4.
No, his ERA is an infinity sign right now.
Crazy. He's getting pulled.
I think you almost have to at this point.
Yeah.
Granted, listen, first MLB game. It's not in friendly confines. It's on the other side of planet Earth in South Korea. A lot went into getting here. So, hey, listen, does this mean that the Dodgers blew it? No. It's his first big league game. Well, it's not his first big league game. He's been playing Japanese ball at the highest level for a very long time, but first MLB game, and he's up against a very good San Diego team. So it's a rough start, but listen, if there's a team in Major League Baseball that you are going to trust to have 9 full innings, all 27 outs to come back from 5 down, it's the Braves or the Dodgers. So we'll keep an eye on this one for you. All right, so yesterday that game, ball smoked up the left-hand side at Jake Cronenworth playing first base, who gets a great jump on the ball to his right, gets the glove across the body. This is routine. I mean, it's not routine, but he's not having to like sprint to second base and make some ridiculous web gem catch. It's just hand across the body and pick it up, and the ball goes flying by him. It's like, what? Jake Cronenworth doesn't make those mistakes. And then they go look at it in slow motion. And wouldn't you know it, the webbing in the pocket of Cronenworth's glove just fell apart, just broke, just shattered. And the ball quite literally went, when I say went through his glove, I don't mean like it hit the top of the glove and knocked the glove over and the ball trickled out the other side. I mean, literally, there was a hole in the glove and it went through it.
Exploded the glove.
It blew up the webbing on his glove. Listen, sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good. Somehow yesterday the Dodgers got lucky and good, because the deeper that game went, the more it felt to me like the Padres had a chance to put the Dodgers away. They were at it. The Padres were coming up on the best part of their offense. The Dodgers were getting back down towards the bottom half of their lineup. It really felt like the Fathers had a wonderful opportunity to put that game away. And then the dumbest thing that's ever happened with Jake Cronenworth's glove exploding, how wildly disappointing did that turn out to be? All right. We're not going to spend a ton of time on Major League Baseball, but I will spend a little more right here. 5-0, 2 outs, man on first. Now you've got Merrill, who has not played a baseball game in a while, and he will go down swinging at a third strike that was on the inside of the dish. So Yamamoto faces all 9 batters in his first inning as an LA Dodger, eventually gets out of it, but not before giving up 5 runs on 4 hits and no errors. So not the start he probably wanted, not the start the Dodgers wanted it to have after paying him like tens of millions of dollars. Man, that's rough. That's a rough start for Yamamoto. All right. Speaking of baseball, you know, we're all geeked up because today is the start of the NCAA basketball men's championship tournament. Tomorrow, the start officially of the NCAA women's championship tournament. I could not be more excited about either. Here's the fun thing. We are 1 week away from actual opening day. Next Thursday, we will finish the show at 10 a.m. Rob Brown will leave immediately after the show, head to the Bro Cave, to the studio at the house, because there will be all the Major League Baseball. And when I say all, over the course of a week from today, 30 teams, 15 games spread out across all of America's time zones on television. Can't wait. Let's go. Can't wait. Let's go. This is this, I hear it all the time. Is this the best part of the sports calendar? Right? You've got the NBA playoff race heating up. You've got the NHL playoff race heating up. We're like, what do we got? Like 7 more NHL regular season games?
12.
12.
Good grief.
You got the NHL playoffs heating up. You've got Major League Baseball about to start. You've got the men's basketball tournament. You've got the women's basketball tournament. We're 3 weeks from the Masters. We're 3 weeks from WrestleMania. Like, is this the best part of the sports calendar? Not like your favorite sport, but the best part of the overall sports calendar. It kind of feels like it is right now. Kind of feels like it is. It kind of feels like today and tomorrow are the best 2 days, and it kind of feels like this is the best part of the sports calendar. All right, let's do this. Let's run to a break just a couple of minutes early. I know we're just a little bit early, but when we come back, let's go ahead and take a look at the first region of the bracket. Let's go ahead and take a look at the, let's go look through the East. That's the side of the bracket that's given me the most problems. Now that we have our play-in teams, now that we know who's in and who's not, who's going home and who's not, when we come back, let's take a gander at our playoff brackets and let's see if we can pick a Final Four contender out of the East. 844-326-3663 is the number to the Renewal by Anderson to the Carolinas fan phone. Text us on the text line, 71307. Start your text with FAN. We'll read them on the air. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, I'm actually partially going because I need to use the restroom. We'll be right back.
exhaust kits, and more. With over 122 million parts, eBay Motors levels your baby up to its peak performance. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home the win.
appreciated as it has been in years gone by. So I actually very much like UAB. This is one of 2 5-12 upsets that I'm rolling with. Now, the 5-12 upsets, when I'm filling out a bracket, I don't pick one just to have one. Last year, 0 5-12 upsets. We talked about that yesterday. When you're filling out your brackets, some of the different rules and things you want to look at. No 5-12 upsets last year in the tournament. I've got 2 of them this time, and I think they are both legitimate and genuine picks. Auburn, I've got Auburn beating up on Yale in the first round. This is just a matter of talent and coaching and not much else. Bruce Pearl has this Auburn team playing exceptionally well. Bruce Pearl has this team moving up and down the floor. They swarm defensively. Ask the Gamecocks about it. If you start to develop any sort of rhythm against Auburn, they are going to start changing up and intensifying defensively at you. I just don't think Yale has the firepower. Got Auburn moving on. I'm going BYU over Duquesne. Duquesne is a good basketball team. Brandon's going Duquesne in this one, going with the Dukes. BYU is one of those teams that I get concerned about, like we talked about earlier. One of those teams that starts to scare me a little bit because they do rely so heavily on the three-pointer. Unlike a couple of other teams that lean on the three, if the three's not there for BYU, they'll start playing mid-range ball. They will evolve that offense to try to stop launching up threes and kind of start playing this thing, trying to set up those 7 and 10 footers. And I think they may have to do that in the opening round game. I think this game's going to be exceptionally close. I will take Duquesne to cover this spread, but I like BYU to move on. Illinois should have no problem with Morehead State University. I've got Drake over Washington State. And not only do I have Drake over Washington State, I've actually got Drake making a little bit of noise here. PJ Glasser and I went back-to-back on this one. I think Drake wins and covers over the Cougs. The Cougs are a 7 seed at 24-9 out of a good Pac-12, but at 24-9 versus an MVC team in Drake that loves to scream up and down the floor. High intensity, high fast-paced offense. I very much like the Drake Bulldogs to move on past Washington State and then Iowa State. All due respect to South Dakota State, if there's a 15-2 somewhere in the bracket, it ain't this one either. South Dakota State, fortunate to get here, had to win it in. Iowa State, I'll tell you why I like Iowa State, and I find this team interesting. They are going to try to put you in a stranglehold defensively. They want this thing to be a game that has like 60 possessions tops, right? They want long, drawn-out possessions. They want to make you be inefficient, and when they have the football, they want to run. What is wrong with me today? When they have the basketball, they want to run out the shot clock. They want to keep the ball in possession. They got no interest in speeding this or any other game up. They just want to slow this game down. I think they can do that against South Dakota State. Maybe the most interesting second-round matchup for me is Drake versus Iowa State, because you are talking about a philosophical battle right there. You were talking about 2 different very polarizing styles of basketball. Drake wants to move the ball around a lot. Iowa State does not. Drake wants to have 80 possessions in this game going both directions. Iowa State does not. And the question mark is, do you believe that defense still genuinely wins you championships in basketball? If you do, Iowa State's the winner. If you don't, I think Drake can go on to the Sweet 16. This team is undervalued, underappreciated, probably deserved higher than a 10 seed. I like Drake over Iowa State into the Sweet 16. One of a couple of double-digit seeds that I've got moving into the Sweet 16. I've got Auburn, UAB in the round of 32. Like I said, I think that matchup can be fun. Auburn's too good. Even for UAB, they're too good. UConn's going to swarm all over FAU as well. I do think that game could be kind of close because FAU plays ball in a similar style to UConn. And we have talked about the history, right? The history is 100% against the UConn Huskies. We have not had a repeat national champion since 2007. We have not had a team that was bounced from its conference tournament make the Final Four in a hot minute. So I am taking UConn past FAU into the Sweet 16, but then I'm taking Auburn to eliminate the 1 seed UConn. The dream dies for the UConn Huskies when they take on the Auburn War Eagle Tigers. I've got Illinois knocking off Drake. I've got a 4-3 matchup in the East region. I've got Auburn v. Illinois, and I will take the War Eagle Tigers to move on past the Fighting Illini. Anything about that jump out to y'all? Anything about that bracket jump out to you as silly as lunacy? Did I miss anything? I know you've got Duquesne over BYU, but did you have Duquesne going any deeper than that?
No, I had Illinois winning, but I have Illinois and UConn. I have Auburn losing to UConn.
Yeah, I think the chalk is UConn here, and I am looking right now, 77% of brackets have UConn moving on into the Sweet 16. Only 9% of brackets have Auburn into the Sweet 16. 62% of them have UConn going in. Like I said, I'm a gambler. Trends mean a lot to me. It's not the only thing. Trends aren't the only thing that matters, but trends mean a lot. And every trend is against UConn, which to me says I got to pick somebody to bounce UConn, historically speaking, out of this bracket. And Brandon, I just don't see anybody in this bracket besides maybe Illinois. I don't see anybody else in this bracket that scares me for UConn quite like I do the Auburn War Eagle Tigers. I think that's the best team in this bracket outside of UConn. And historically speaking, it can't be UConn.
I mean, I can understand what you're saying. Auburn is what Auburn is. The way I have it is UConn and Auburn face each other. I think UConn would win the game, but I don't think it's gonna be by a hefty margin. I would say like a 5 or 6 point kind of game at best. At the average, I'm thinking is probably a 2 or 3 point game. That's how close it is with those two. Auburn, very fast, very high scoring, very dedicated to the score. But there's just something about UConn that you really can't put your finger on because they have that factor. They can go over to the next level. And I actually have it UConn and Illinois. I have Illinois upsetting Iowa State.
I get it. And I've heard that a lot. Oh, there's UConn. I mean, UConn's good, right? There's no arguing with that. They're the best team in college basketball right now. But I do think when you talk about finding that next gear, you are correct. Like you can see the spots where UConn shifts into a high gear. The problem is if you miss that gear and you do it in the Sweet 16 against an Auburn, if you do it in the Elite Eight against an Illinois or an Iowa State that has that sweltering defense, if you're just off one day, you're toast. And I mean, I know that's true for everybody, but the teams that
Illinois and Iowa State are able to expose your deficiencies. And you're right. If UConn comes out and they are flat, Illinois or Auburn or Iowa State is going to expose them for what they are.
Unless UConn just gets lucky and whatever one of those teams they're lined up against in the Sweet 16, in the Elite Eight, in the Final Four, unless that team's just also having a bad day. If UConn misses that shift up, I do think they're the best team in college basketball. I do not think it is by some ridiculous over-the-top margin, right? Like, I feel the same way, by the way, about all the 1 seeds. I think Houston is exceptionally talented, specifically on the defensive end of the floor. We have seen games where Houston just can't hit shots. And if we come into this second round against Nebraska, third round against Duke or Wisconsin, and Houston's not hitting shots, them getting bounced is a reality. This is, to me, the least chalky bracket I've seen in a very long time. I've got two 1 seeds in the final in the Elite 8. I've got 2 1 seeds. I've got a 2 seed, an 11 seed, a 2 seed, a 4 seed, a 4 seed, and a 3 seed. So I mean, it's healthy favorites for sure. But this to me is one of the least chalky brackets we've seen in a very, 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 very long time. All right, let's put hour number 1 to bed, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up in hour number 2, we, of course, open with your water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you head into the office today. It will not shock you that the Clemson lawsuit is back to the news. That's not true. The response to the Clemson lawsuit is in the news. We will tell you about that. We got this weird-ass Shohei Ohtani story we got to get to. We'll break down more bracket selections, a whole lot of it coming up. But before we do any of that, we got to do a sports flash. On Tuesday, Clemson sued the Atlantic Coast Conference, claiming the grant of rights and exit fees are unenforceable. Yesterday, the ACC countersued Clemson in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, the same venue they filed against FSU. The suit brought by the ACC is similar to the one filed against the Noles, arguing the university signed the agreement of their own volition and declaring the contract, quote, exclusive and irrevocable. The conference is also suing Clemson for breach of contract and seeking damages. A mainstay in college basketball has spoken out against the expansion to the championship tournament days after Pete Thamel claimed discussions for an 80-team tournament were happening. John Calipari said he hopes the tournament stays at 68, saying its current format is great. And the NCAA Men's Championship Basketball Tournament starts today. South Carolina gets it going for the teams out of the Palmetto State this afternoon when they take on the Oregon Ducks in a 6-11 matchup. Hour 2 of the Rob Brown Show is up next on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys. Top of the hour break. We're stepping away for just a minute. We will be right back. Yeah, I did not have Taco Bell for dinner last night, Wesley. I just forgot to bring us back before we came back in.
The Fan Upstate.
Here we go, our numero dos of the Rob Brown radio program, right here on the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are live from Seoul, South Korea, where the San Diego Padres have given a couple back to the LA Dodgers. Still up 5-2. Yamamoto chased from the game. His Dodgers debut not going swimmingly. 5 runs, 4 hits, just 1 inning of work. Freddie Freeman at the dish now, 2 outs and a man on third base to start his AB. Right now, the San Diego Padres have Joe Musgrove out on the bump, who had got a little dicey there for just a minute, but if he can get Freeman out here without giving up another run, he will still be in pretty good shape against these LA Dodgers. We'll keep you up to date on this. Freddie Freeman rips one out to right field that would have been gone if it goes, but it hooks foul. We'll keep you up to date on that game as we progress. Also want to let you know that, again, as we have mentioned, we are now about 5 hours away from the brackets closing and locking. So if you would like in to the Rob Brown Radio Show Bracket Challenge, email me at rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. You can also, that's how you got to email them if you want a link. You got to email me if you want a link. I will send you the link to join that bracket back in your email. You click on it, go through CBS Sports, and you'll be good to go. You can get in touch with the show if you want to talk brackets, 844-326-3663. That's 844-FANFONE, 844-FANFONE. That is the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone. The text line open for you this morning as well at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, when we will read them on the air. You can also shoot me a tweet at The Rob Brown Show. At The Rob Brown Show. You can tweet everybody at the station at The Fan Upstate on Twitter, X, Tweeter, whatever it's called nowadays. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 7:04 in the morning. You are less than an hour away from beginning your workday. If you've got one of those regular 8-to-5ers, then you only have 4 hours until the tournament starts, and you watch basketball and ignore all the things your boss asked you to do. I'm not endorsing or condoning that, but I totally am. Skip work, watch basketball. Either way, whether you're at work or not, you're going to want to talk sports with the important people in your life today, whether they're your coworkers or your family, your friends. Maybe you're just sitting around having a conversation with a dog. However it's going about, you're going to want to talk sports. And if you're going to want to talk sports, you are going to want to talk about this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
You hear that?
even before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go.
Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports with your coworkers today, or get to the office and start watching basketball instead of work. It's the next 2 days they're just a break. They're just a break for everybody. On Tuesday, Clemson sued the Atlantic Coast Conference. Clemson, in their lawsuit against the ACC, claimed that the media grant of rights was outrageous. They claimed that the exit fee of north of $140 million was chaotic. It was just not enforceable. And much like Florida State did in their initial lawsuit, They claim that the Atlantic Coast Conference did not do its due diligence to get the teams in the ACC the best possible deal, and therefore made it all but impossible for them to compete on a national scale. Yesterday, in what is the actual water cooler cheat sheet story, the ACC countersued Clemson in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina. That is the same county where they filed against Florida State University. The move comes one day after Clemson sued the ACC in Pickens County, challenging the GOR and the $140 million withdrawal penalty, a penalty that is roughly 1/3 of the total operating annual cost of the ACC. FSU filed their suit back in December, one day after the ACC preemptively filed its own suit in Mecklenburg County. They asked the judge to declare that the GOR is valid and enforceable to the ACC and will remain so through June of 2036. The first hearing in that case of Mecklenburg County scheduled for tomorrow. In its suit against Clemson, the ACC used similar language to the one it filed against FSU. The ACC argued that Clemson, like Florida State, signed the grant of rights 2 separate times in 2013 and 16, and also voted in 2012 to increase the withdrawal penalty to, quote, an amount equal to 3 times the total operating budget of the conference. Clemson called into question the league view that it controls its rights even once it leaves the conference, calling it a, quote, nonsensical reading, end quote, wrong, quote, and, quote, inconsistent with the plain language of that agreement, end quote. The ACC is asking a judge to declare the plain language of the grant of rights, quotes, means what it says, end quote, and is, quote, exclusive and irrevocable, end quote, through the duration of the agreement. After the ACC Florida State lawsuits were filed in December, the ACC said in its suit that Clemson indicated as a desire to work with the conference regarding its own membership and, quote, requested confidentiality and protections that the ACC would not file a lawsuit against it. The ACC said that they agreed to seek a solution without resorting to litigation. And while it was working to document those assurances, the league claims Clemson filed its lawsuit in Pickens County, to the great surprise of the conference itself. In addition to seeking declaratory judgment on the grant of rights and withdrawal penalty, the ACC is seeking damages from Clemson for its breach of the grant of rights and its breach of its, quote, duty of good faith and fair dealing, end quote. You listened to the Rob Brown show yesterday. This is no surprise. I told you that I expected that the ACC would be filing a suit, a countersuit against Clemson sooner rather than later. It took them less than 24 hours to make that happen, dropping that lawsuit back on the Clemson Tigers less than 1 full day later. And it is no shock. As I've said, as much as we have talked about the fact that teams like Clemson, teams like Florida State, teams like North Carolina are fighting for survival and their ability to compete on a national scale due to the tip of the scale in funding towards the, let's call them what they are, Power 2 conferences of the SEC and the Big Ten, just like they are fighting for themselves. The ACC is fighting for its life as well. And we know that, right? We know the ACC is fighting for its life at this point. We know that the ACC knows that their backs are against the wall. And the only way to survive at this point is to have a court quite literally rule that Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, Miami, whoever else, Virginia Tech, can't go anywhere, that they're legally obligated to stay within the ACC and that the contract they sign makes that so. There is nothing surprising out of this. There is nothing that shocked me out of this. There is nothing that jumped off the page at me out of this. This just kind of is what it is. Let's move on to item number 2. This, to me, is also interesting. Last week, Pete Thamel reported that sources told him there are ongoing conversations about the possibility of expanding the NCAA March Madness tournament, to north of 68 teams, possibly to as many as 80 teams. There are thoughts by those in the know that part of this would come out of the belief that there would be more mid-majors added, A, and B, that you would see more play-in style games. A lot of the top teams like Kansas, teams like North Carolina, teams that are 1s and 2s, likely would not have to win additional games. So basically, we would allow more mid-majors in. This would be excellent for conferences if it does go that way. Excellent for conferences like, for instance, the Southern Conference, who are a one-bid conference. Their champ goes and nobody else goes historically. It might be great for conferences like the Southern, the MAC, the WAC, etc. But it also might not be, because it may very well be that they decide to look at conferences like this year's ACC, a conference that, yes, saw Virginia get the floor wiped in their play-in tournament game, but also did not see Wake Forest, a very good team, get in. Also saw 2 or 3 other teams, saw NC State steal a bid by winning the Atlantic Coast Conference and potentially costing some of those other ACC teams their interest, as it appears the committee did not view the ACC quite as favorably as this radio show host did. John Calipari has spoken out now. He said he thinks the tournament is great as it is. He said if you start expanding it too much, you get to where it's watered down. If you expand it to where it goes to 80, 88, whatever amount of teams out there, if you expand it too far, it could end up getting to a spot where it's so watered down, it's so chaotic that it kind of loses value. I tend to agree with John Calipari on this one. However, not everybody does. NC State has made the tournament. Kevin Keats, their head coach, who, by the way, is 0-4 in tournament games during his tenure, he said he believes tournament expansion would benefit players from programs of all sizes. He said, quote, I totally disagree with them. And not just because I want to disagree with them. I think there should be some expansion. I just think it's too many student athletes that do not get the opportunity to play in a postseason. When you look at football, they don't have that issue. You can make a bowl game in under 500 now. And the experience of, we talk about the student athlete experience. And the only thing that really, in my opinion, that has not changed is expanding the tournament. And I don't have a number. I don't know what that should be, but I do think we should give more schools opportunities to be able to get into the tournament. All of our conferences, all of our Power 5 conferences are going to 17, 18 teams. The ACC, which I think is really not fair, we're getting 5 out of 15. If we get 7 out of 18, it's not a pretty number, end quote. So this is interesting. I really thought coaches were going to be able to kind of be split based on where they were. And I did not think you would see a lot of big Power 5 conferences call for expansion, but it looks like the line is really going to be split more along blue bloods versus not blue bloods. The Kentuckys, the Dukes, the North Carolinas, they don't want to expand. Why? Because they're in every year. Why make it harder? It's the teams like NC State, the teams that have the occasional appearance that so far seem like they want to expand the tournament. And why wouldn't they? It makes more opportunities for their type and their caliber of schools to find their way in. So I'm not shocked by that. It's not the way I saw it going when the conversation started. But here we are. And finally, item number 3 on the water cooler cheat sheet. The NCAA tournament on the men's side is here. On the women's side, it starts tomorrow. First and foremost, congratulations to the Presbyterian Blue Hose women's basketball program as they won their play-in tournament game over Sacred Heart last night, 49-42. Mayanira led all scorers in this game, 14 points, ended up with 6 rebounds in this one as well. You also ended up with 12 points for Brianna Brady. She also chipped in 5 boards and a block to go along with it. But it was defense that won this game for Presbyterian. They held Sacred Heart to 25% from the floor. They held Sacred Heart to 3 of 23 from behind the arc. The Presbyterian Blue Hose are officially in the big dance at this point. That's the good news. The bad news is where they open up. The bad news is that on Friday at 2:00 in the afternoon in Albany, Georgia, the 21-14 Presbyterian Blue Hose are squared up against the Lady Gamecocks of South Carolina. Dawn Staley and her Gamecocks, the number 1 overall seed, will get locked up with the 16 seed Presbyterian in the opening round game. Probably Presbyterian going to be the biggest underdog of any game between any 2 teams in either of the 2 tournaments from start to finish. That is nothing against Presbyterian. That's just who South Carolina is. The Lady Gamecocks are -140 to win the entire tournament. -140. What that means is you have got to bet $140 to get $100 back. You got to go in for $140 to get $100 back if South Carolina wins the tournament. To put that in comparison, UConn is the number 1 favored team over on the men's side. UConn is like 9-1 to win this tournament. That means you bet $100, and if you get it right and UConn wins the NCAA tournament, you will get $900 back. Dawn Staley's team, you got to bet $140 to win 1. UConn, I'm sorry, I lied to you. It's plus 370 to win the tournament. Almost 4-1 to win. Dawn's girls are -140 as a dog. There are 68 teams playing in this tournament for the Natty. 68 teams playing. Dawn's girls are favorited over everybody to the negative money. That's ridiculous.
Well, did you see that South Carolina did play Presbyterian earlier in the season, December 16th? They won 99-29.
Yeah, it's not going to go well.
It's like, congratulations on getting your first NCAA win to go play Goliath.
Yeah, it's not going to. Sorry, Blue Hose. We are Team Presbyterian. It's not going to go well. Texter said, fan, people don't realize the fact that South Carolina is literally negative favorites is literally absurd. Yes, it literally is, Texter. You are literally correct. It is literally ridiculous that any team in any tournament of 64 teams is a minus money favorite. You're a minus money favorite to win a game. You're a minus money favorite to win a game. You maybe possibly have a money line minus money favorite in like the championship game. To be a minus money favorite over the entire field is ridiculous. Over on the men's side, the Gamecocks of South Carolina get their tournament started today in PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, when they host the 11 seed, the Oregon Ducks. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of folks out there right now that are picking the Oregon Ducks to win this game. lot of folks out there that are picking the Oregon Ducks to upset the Gamecocks of South Carolina in round number 1. And I got to tell you, I still have not submitted my bracket. I am still sitting over here during the breaks working on who am I moving on, who am I sending home, and I have flipped back and forth on that bracket selection multiple times. I have come to the conclusion. I think Clemson moves on from round 1. I went back and forth against them with New Mexico. I went back and forth with them being a 2.5-point dog to the Lobos, and I think I like Clemson. I think it's a good matchup for them. I'm having a real tough time picking South Carolina over Oregon right now, and it has not that much to do with South Carolina except for one factor. As I said earlier about BYU, if you live and die by the tray, you die by the tray. That is my tournament philosophy. If you live and die by the 3, you will eventually die by the 3. Teams that are set up to run to be efficient with the 3-pointer just traditionally don't do well in the tournament. Because at some point, you're going to have a game where the outside shots aren't falling. And if you have a game where the outside shots aren't falling and you can't promise me that you're going to be able to get it done on the inside, that's where I get scared. I go back and I look at South Carolina, Tennessee. I go back and I look at South Carolina getting beat by 40 against Auburn and then 30 against Auburn. I look at those games where the shots aren't falling. And when I look at those games where the shots aren't falling, South Carolina didn't really have an answer. This is a Ducks team that did have to win the Pac-12 tournament to get in, but they did. And I think it says a lot about where the Pac-12 is right now. I'm having a real hard time not picking the Ducks. Ladies and gentlemen, you have got about 4.5 hours to get your brackets locked in. If you want in on the Rob Brown Radio Show bracket tournament challenge, now's the time. Send me an email to rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, requesting the invitation. I will send you that link back in your email. You click on it, you're registered, you're entered in the Rob Brown Show bracket challenge. The winner of that bracket challenge is going to get the opportunity to come on the show and host a segment with me. So if you want in, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Let's take a break. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I'll be right back.
You got it.
Jim Rome, and more. Don't miss a beat. Just hit rewind with the Odyssey app on the Fan Upstate.
From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Weather Center, here's the Carolinas' most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. Sunny today with a high around 70. Tonight, partly cloudy, low near 48.
All right, guys, stepping away for 30 seconds, and I will not forget to bring us back this time. BRB. mi amigos? We back.
Now, during Staples Print Big Sale, get $20 off your print purchase of 100 or more, $50 off your print purchase of 200 or more, and $100 off your print purchase of 300 or more. So the more you print at Staples, the more you save. To demonstrate, print at Staples, you save. But if you print at Staples, you save. See how that works? Staples Print Big Sale. Print more, save more, up to $100. Ends 4/6. Visit staples.com/print for details.
Hey everybody, it's Boomer Esiason here, and eBay Motors has everything you need to keep your ride or die alive. From superchargers, brakes, exhaust kits, and more. With over 122 million parts, eBay Motors levels your baby up to its peak performance. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home the win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
SC Comic-Con is back and bigger than ever, April 6th and 7th at the Greenville Convention Center. Featuring artists and stars like William Shatner, Captain Kirk, Jim Lee from X-Men and Batman, Kate Flannery from The Office, Power Rangers, wrestlers, anime stars, and more. Tons of vendors with thousands of comics, games, and toys. Tickets are $30 Saturday, $25 Sunday.
Somebody's killing me, man.
The entire weekend.
Go make it.
Yeah.
Free. For more details, go to sccomiccon.com or find us on Facebook and Instagram.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help
Struggling to spell correctly.
strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response.
Wow,
to the vaccine.
9 to 4.
Side effects
Oof.
include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
It's that time of year. Cash the ticket. Jim Costa with Mike Valeni. We shift the focus from football to college hoops. Playing that system that's not a system, but sure plays like a system leading up to the tournament. We're looking for that value with the daily dimes. We look for the gross lines, getting us ready for the tournament where we're going to break down all the matchups.
15 seconds.
And have an eye on some future plays, too. This time of year, baby. Search Cash the Ticket on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sponsored by ChumbaCasino.com. It's time to experience the thrill of the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
Looks like it's 9 to 6 now.
Play for fun and no purchases necessary. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions.
The Rob Brown radio program is back on your radio or your laptop or your PC or your tablet or your cell phone or wherever it is that you might be watching, listening, and it's just in general hanging out with us on a Thursday morning. You want to be a part of the show? Now is your time. Renewal by Anderson to the Carolinas fan phone, 844-326-FANFONE. Excuse me, 844-326-3663. That's 844-FANFONE. You can text us 71307. Start your text with FAN, 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 and we will read them on the air. You can tweet us at 71307, 71307. Jump at us. Texter said, is Oregon over the Gamecocks even an upset? They are a good team. No, I honestly, it is not a betting line upset to me. It is not a betting line upset. That's a pick'em game as far as I am concerned. That is a pick'em game. That is a game that, as far as I am concerned, is likely a game of who shoots the ball better. Like, I hate I said this earlier. I said this yesterday on the BetQL Network. I said it yesterday on this show. I hate when I break down a game and it reduces down to one thing. If X, then team A. If Y, then team B. But this one does to me. This game basically boils down to, can Carolina knock down threes? Can Carolina knock down shots? That's it. It boils down to the Gamecocks knock down their shots. I go back in. We pointed out, I don't know how many times I've said it because it just sticks out like a sore thumb to me. I go back to that game where South Carolina lost by 40 to Auburn in the regular season, 101-61. In that game, South Carolina went 3 of 15 from behind the arc, including Michi Johnson going 2 of 6 from that one. It's not good enough. In the 101-61 loss, it was real bad. Then I go look at the Tennessee loss. 66-59 was your final in that one. South Carolina went 8 of 29 from behind the arc for 27%. It's not god-awful, but it's not good enough against a team like Tennessee, especially when you're letting them shoot 35% from 3. I go back to the 86-55 loss that ended the season for the Gamecocks in the SEC tournament. 3 of 12 from behind the arc. They allowed Auburn to go 9 of 19. That's 47.5% from deep for the Tigers. It's not good enough, right? It's not good enough. Those are the types of games that get you in trouble. I go look at that 80-66 game. That was a win over Arkansas. 3 of 15, but you shot 53% from the floor. 3 of 15 from deep, 53% from the floor. If you don't go, let's say 30%, 33% from deep for South Carolina, you're going to have that field goal percentage number be hovering around that 50 mark. And the good news for you was Arkansas's not that good. So that was able, that made the difference. That made all the difference.
So you're telling me there's a chance
for
South Carolina to, quote, upset.
I can see South Carolina is good enough to be an Elite 8 team. But
I can see that.
It is 100%. Can they put the brown thing in the round thing more often than they don't? This has got to be a game where they are shooting 33% from 3. If they're shooting 35% from 3, South Carolina will beat Oregon. And looking at the bracket, I think that puts them in a pretty good spot. You will likely get Creighton in the second round. Creighton is not the Blue Jays team of old. This isn't the team that upset a favorite Alabama in the tournament a couple of years ago. This is a team that lost to Colorado State, Villanova. They got beat by Marquette. They lost to UConn. They lost to Butler. They lost to Providence. They lost to St. John's. They lost to Providence again. This is not the Creighton team of old. That's a winnable game for South Carolina. Bang, you're in the Sweet 16. Who do you find in the Sweet 16? Likely the Volunteers of Tennessee, a very familiar opponent for the South Carolina Gamecocks. You beat them once in their house. You lost to them once in your house. The game you lost at home was largely and predominantly because of the fact that you couldn't get shots to fall. If the shots were falling against Tennessee in that rematch in Columbia, you probably win that game too. Tennessee had themselves a game until about 5 minutes left when they finally pulled away, because effectively, without the brown thing going in the round thing for South Carolina, at that point, Tennessee changed up the game. Tennessee said, we're going to go longer possessions. We're not going to kick out the rock as much. or excuse me, we are going to kick out the rock more. We're not going to launch it from downtown as many times. We're not going to have Dalton Connect come down and just try to go dagger, dagger, dagger into your heart. Instead, we're gonna extend possessions. We're gonna maintain. We're gonna keep the shot clock going. We're gonna wear out the South Carolina defense. They're gonna play chase with the basketball on the defensive side of the floor more often than they don't. And I think that's how that went down. If you're South Carolina, you know how to beat Tennessee. You did it in their house. At a point in time, by the way, that Tennessee was starting to build some momentum towards a postseason run. That's a winnable game. You beat Tennessee. Would you look at that? Suddenly you're in the Elite Eight. Then you're likely going to get matched up with the Purdue Boilermakers. I'll tell you right now, I am not as high on Purdue as everybody else is. They're 29-4, yes, and that matters, but they're 29-4 with a loss to Wisconsin in the Big Ten tournament. They're 29-10, or excuse me, they're 29-4 with a loss to Ohio State. 29-4 with a loss to Nebraska, 29-4 with a loss to Northwestern. All tournament teams with the exception of the Buckeyes, but none of them dominant tournament teams. And on top of that, I have said for a while now that while I enjoy watching Purdue play, I absolutely think that Zach Edey, the National Player of the Year, was getting the benefits of the whistle. It is important to remember that officials in the NCAA tournament call fouls at a lower percentage than they do in the regular season. In the regular season, you have conference officials. In the NCAA tournament, the officials are provided by the NCAA, not by the conferences. So they are hopefully officials that have a little less interest in the game. Not that I'm accusing conference officials of having interest in the game, but you hope that they're a little bit more impartial. You hope that they're not looking and giving out superstar calls. And if Zach Edey's not getting superstar calls, he's still a great basketball player, but he becomes a little less effective. And I'll tell you right now, I would set BJ Mack up and off against Zach Edey just to go out there and get in his head, right? Just to go out there and beat up on him, be physical, push him around, put that forearm shiver into the kidney a couple times and see if he's the same player. Because if you're doing that and he's not getting calls, I think you give yourself a chance. South Carolina will be a dog in that game. I'm not about to sit here and tell you that they'd be favorited there. What I am saying is you get a set of officials that aren't sympathetic to Zach Edey. You get one of BJ Mack's better games of the year, and there is a path. It is not an easy one. It is not one that I've selected. But to me, of the games that stand between South Carolina and, let's say for the sake of realism, say an Elite Eight matchup, are likely Oregon, Creighton, Tennessee. There's some interesting teams down in the bottom half of that sub-region. Texas is down there. Colorado State, who won their play-in game, is down there. Won their play-in game. It looked impressive doing it. St. Peter's, America's team, the Peacocks, baby, is down there. But the likely path is Oregon, Creighton, Tennessee, Purdue, if you want to get through that region. Is it likely for South Carolina? No, I don't think it's likely. Is it possible? You're damn right it's possible. You're damn right it's possible. There's not a matchup here that South Carolina can't win. The problem you have is this.
Which team?
You live by the
team
three.
Shows up too.
You live by the three. You die by the three. If the threes aren't falling for the Gamecocks in any of these games, you will lose. If they're not falling against Oregon, you're bounced in round 1. If they're not falling against Creighton, you're bounced in round 2. If they're not falling against Tennessee, you're bounced in round 3. If they're not falling against Purdue, you're bounced in round 4. Now, I would say for a team that, I don't know if you've heard this before, it's not like it's been talked about endlessly and unceasingly. I don't know if that's a word, but you get what I'm saying. For a stat that has been talked about a lot, South Carolina under Lamont Paris was selected to finish dead last in the Southeastern Conference. This was a team that was not expected to accomplish anything. Instead, they locked up their dance invite 3 weeks before the end of the regular season. They ended up with a 6 seed. And this is already a successful season for the Gamecocks. That being said, you better believe I would love to see a deep run out of this team. It 100% comes down to, are the shots falling? It is reductive. It is simplistic. It is minimalist. And most important of all, it's accurate as hell.
You know they're not gonna want to. They're not gonna shut down and be like, "All right, we're here. What's good? Let's go home." They're gonna be like, "Let's fight tooth and nail and get."
It's all good. They have all the fight in the world. Can you make your shots? I promise. This is what I say all the time, and I know it sounds, again, it makes me sound like a dork, but it is what it is. Dude, I was the hardest working player in my high school basketball days. I was the first cat in the gym. I was the last cat out of the gym. I was the guy that did the mic-in drill. I was the guy that literally grew up watching Pistol Pete ball handling tapes, VHS, and implemented those. I was a dude that ended every practice with 100 free throws, or until I got up to 60% from the stripe. I was that dude, and I didn't go to college to play basketball. Do you know why? Because I sucked at basketball. Didn't matter how much I practiced. I was never college scholarship good. I just wasn't. At the end of the day, everybody in this tournament's got fight. If you don't think Oregon's coming in here with fight, Tennessee, Creighton, Purdue, Colorado State, Texas, they're all going to bring fight. The question is, are you good enough and can you knock down your shots?
Oh, yeah.
And if the answer for South Carolina is no,
then you're going home.
You're going home. All right, couple of texts, then we'll take a break. Texter said, Rob, not pulling against you, but I'd sure love to win and come in and bash the Gamecocks for a good segment. Hey, man, win the bracket. Listen, please realize, if you are in the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge, which you can get into by sending me an email right now at rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, you have less than 5.5 hours until the bracket's locked. Please recognize that you, my dear friends, you are also representing your school. Not just because you can come in and go, hey, go Gamecocks, go Tigers. You can also come in and just pound the other team for 15 minutes. Which means if you don't win this bracket, you open up the possibility for somebody from that other school you don't like to come in here and start dropping verbal elbows on your squad. And you're not trying to live that life. So rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Send me an email to get your invitation, and let's see who gets to come in here. Texter said, say tournament one more time. It's tournament, you plonker. You can't call me a plonker and get upset that I say tournament. All right? What are the first 4 letters of that word? T-O-U-R.
Texter, it is tournament.
It's not. It's tournament. T-O-U-R. Again, Weezer is coming to town. They're not on tour. I mean, they are if you're from Pickens County. Weezer's coming down. They're on tour. It's T-O-U-R. It's tour. Weezer's on tour. These basketball teams are on tour in the tournament. We got to take a break. Come back here in just a minute. Let's look at the other side. Let's look at the other 6 seed on the bottom half of the bracket. Let's look at the Clemson Tigers. I told you, South Carolina's bracket sets up to where if they're knocking down the trays, they move on. Does Clemson have the same benefit on the bottom half of the other side of the bracket? We'll address that when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Oh, I'm so
All right,
tired.
guys, give me just a minute. We will be right back. right, dudes and dudettes, we're back. Thanks for hanging in there. Any chance my orange Final Four pens out Clemson, Auburn, Florida, and Tennessee with a Tennessee-Auburn championship game? Very good chance of a Tennessee-Auburn championship game. Clemson, I don't see a path to the Final Four. Florida, I think, runs out of gas at some point.
Call, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Talk to Robin Lonzo. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FANFONE. This is the award-winning Robin Show.
T-minus 4 hours and 10 minutes until the brackets lock. Dudes and dudettes, if you want in, send an invite. Andrew is in. Brooke is in. Let's see, who else? Josh is in. Jared is in. Harper is in. We got a lot of y'all. Let's see. We got a couple more that are coming in as we speak. Herbert is in. We have got a lot of folks in. You've got just a tick over 4 hours left to get yourself into the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge. If you want in, now's your time. Email me, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Let's look at the other side of the bracket. I told you, the path to South Carolina in the Final Four is available. I think the matchups actually fall pretty well for South Carolina. I think a team that has a lot of possessions, scores a lot of baskets, can get by Creighton, can get by Tennessee if and only if the shots are falling, okay? If and only if the shots are falling. I do think that if the shots fall, South Carolina genuinely has a chance. The question mark is, will they? Over on the other side, the Clemson Tigers. They are underdogs. They are one of, I believe, 5 opening round games where the lower seed is a dog. That being said, 3 of those are 8-9 matchups, middle of the pack. So it's not really that big of a deal. This one's real simple to me too. Which Clemson are we going to get? Are we going to get the Clemson that had their backs against the wall, that went up to North Carolina, come on and raise up and got a dub in Chapel Hill? If that Clemson shows up, they're going to beat New Mexico by a dozen, without a doubt. If it's the Clemson from the ACC tournament, they're going to get waxed by the Lobos.
It's like you gotta look for the game. Do you remember the game Yahtzee, where you shoot the dice up and you try to land on like all 6 to get the best score? That's what it's like with this game. You're trying to shake those dice up and hope they all land on 6s for the right Clemson team.
So the thing I'm looking at here, and I gave you guys the silver lining, right? I gave you guys the silver lining. The silver lining is I think this team is comprised of 2 groups of players. Players who have never been here before and players who have been here before. And the last couple of years, by the time that they got to the ACC tournament, they were locked in for 3 weeks. They've been locked in for almost a month at that point. And so as many times as I've said it, I know some of you don't agree with me. I know this for whatever reason gets way under Lonzo's skin. Conference tournaments mean nothing compared to March Madness. They just don't. I've said it and I'll say it again. If I gave you right now the opportunity to guarantee your team either option A, a guaranteed conference championship and a ticket to the dance, guaranteed conference championship and a ticket to the dance, but you started from round 1, or I could guarantee you that your team got bounced from the conference tournament in game number 1, but I guarantee you a bye to the Final Four. Which means, by the way, to win a natty, you got to win 2 more games. You got to win the Final Four game and the championship game. If I gave you a choice between you win a conference tournament and you end up in the tournament, the big dance, or you get bounced in the opening round of the conference tournament, but I'm guaranteeing you a spot in the Final Four, everybody who's a fan of college basketball except Big East fans, because they are weirdos, everybody else is going to pick a Final Four appearance. I know you are. If you're a college basketball fan, and I give you you know how I know that? Because I've done it. I've asked. And so far, I probably asked 25, 30 people this question over the past week and a half, because that's how long this conversation's been going on. You will all remember a phone call that we had with my guy Torrance, who called in last week, and he said, "Rob," he said, "You're being too easy on Clemson. You ought to be taking them to task. What a pathetic showing in the ACC tournament game, getting bounced by BC." And I said, "Look, dude, I think you're being harsh. I don't care." He said he's a North Carolina fan. I said, all right, I'll give you a choice right now. North Carolina can win the ACC tournament and get a ticket to the dance as a 1 seed, or North Carolina can get bounced from the tournament in the first round, but North Carolina is a guaranteed Final Four team. Which one are you taking? He said, well, he put it that way. Yeah, no, because that's the way it is. So I think Clemson came into that ACC tournament with groups of players that, A, hadn't been there before and were super jacked up and were getting ready for March, or guys like PJ Hall, who usually when Clemson gets to the ACC tournament, whether they shouldn't be or should be, are on the bubble and are playing for their damn lives. They weren't playing for their damn lives this year. They were already locked in. They knew where they were going. And because they knew where they were going, I don't think you got the best Clemson. I am going to give Brad Brownell credit and say I think you're going to get the best version of Clemson they get by New Mexico. In fact, I think there's a very good chance they get by Baylor. This isn't the same Baylor team of years gone by. The problem you have over there is I like Arizona as the 2 seed more than I like Tennessee with Rick Barnes as the head coach as the 2 seed on the other side. Rick Barnes is a guy that I don't trust in the tournament. Trista Crick on BetQL has been saying this for weeks. And I think she's right. I don't trust Rick Barnes as the head coach. Traditionally, Rick Barnes falls apart at that point. Arizona's the toughest 2 seed in the bracket. I think they are a tougher 2 seed than Marquette. I think they're a tougher 2 seed than Iowa State. I think Clemson can make it to the Sweet 16, but I think that's the best they can do because I think Arizona bounces them. I've got Arizona in my Final Four right now. I have 4 hours to change my mind. Let's take a break. Back after this, 2 hours left to go on the Rob Brown Show. It's time for a Sports Flash. Tuesday, Clemson sued the ACC, claiming the grant of rights and exit fees are unenforceable. Yesterday, the ACC fired back, firing off a countersuit in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, the same venue they filed against FSU. The suit brought by the ACC is similar to the one filed against the Noles, arguing the university signed the agreement of their own volition twice and declared the contract, quote, exclusive and irrevocable. The conference is seeking damages for breach of contract and for the breaching of the contract itself. Hours after making his Dodgers regular season debut, Shohei Ohtani got some interesting news. The Dodgers fired Ohtani's translator over roughly $4.5 million in wire transfers from Ohtani's bank account to an illegal gambling operation. The translator initially said that Shohei knew about it to cover his debts, then later walked that story back. We'll have more details coming up in the next hour of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
FM in Greenville, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg.
Listen on your phone.
All right, you asked, Wesley. I've said multiple times that I think the prize for winning the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge is you will get to come on the air and be my co-host for a segment. You will get to come on. You will get to set the topic. You will be given free reign to run with the topic. The only way you will get run is if Lonzo hits you with the dump button or if you're real bad at it. I don't expect anybody who listens to the show will be bad at it. So if you win the Rob Brown Show Tournament Bracket Challenge, then you will get a chance to come on and host the show with me. No, you will not win an invite to my wedding. Sorry, bud. Dinner plates cost too much to invite you to my wedding. It's not that I don't love you. You want me to live stream my wedding? You can feel like you're there. I'm sure my fiance will love that. Damn. All right. I'm going to run and grab something out of the office, guys. We will be right back. turn the camera back on just to say I'm not live streaming my wedding. I love you guys a lot, but it's an open bar, and I can't have anything that I say or do held against me in a court of law. Can't have documented evidence.
I'm innocent, sir. 20 seconds.
Well, is Jason Hayward still in the league?
I know.
And a Dodger.
Get one select 56-volt battery free. That's up to a $299 value. Powered through spring with Ego, the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power. Because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 4/3 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. WYRD Greenville.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFBZ HD3 Greenville. The official sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. CBS Sports Radio. Live from the Free Ice Morning.
Man, check this out.
Your unofficial Rob Brown lockdown.
Represent Freedom Radio. Yeah.
Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show. Yeah. Only on
The Fan.
Spartanburg J has joined the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge. Amy has joined the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge. Chris has joined the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge. Get in. Get in now. Winner gets a chance to come on the show between now and next March and co-host with me. I hope that you will join me in our Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge. If you wish to do so, all you got to do is fire off an email right now, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I will send you an invite back in your email address. And if you get in and if you win the bracket selection challenge, you get to come on the air and host a segment of the show with me at some point down the line. Texter said, Rob, my girlfriend Ruth dumped me the other day. Now I feel pretty ruthless. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Texter said, if Shohei Ohtani wasn't doing anything nefarious, why did he have to use his translator? Pete Rose would like to know. So this story's fun. This story's fun. Can I tell you, let me make it about me for just a minute. That's something I avoid doing on this show as often as possible. But let me make it about me for just a second. I read the story last night when this news broke. In fact, I was on the air with PJ Glasser on You Better You Bet. We talked about it a little bit. This story is compelling, and it's also driving me up a wall. Let me tell you why. There's another story going on right now in the NBA from the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, JB Bickerstaff. This and the Shohei Ohtani story have me, as a sports gambler, in kind of a crap situation. I'll start with the NBA thing, and then we'll circle back around to Shohei and his translator. Cleveland Cavaliers coach JB Bickerstaff said that he has been receiving threats from gamblers and has been reporting them to the NBA. While being asked Wednesday night about sports gambling following comments made by Indiana All-Star Tyrese Halliburton, who said sometimes he feels like a prop, end quote, Bickerstaff said gamblers have contacted him personally. He said, quote, they got my telephone number and were sending me crazy messages about where I live and my kids and all that stuff. So it is a dangerous game and a fine line that we're walking for sure. Bickerstaff said he told security the gambler was located. He said that no charges were filed, but that the gambler was spoken to. He said, quote, It brings added pressure. It brings a distraction to the game that can be difficult for players, coaches, referees, everybody that's involved in it. And I think that we really have to be careful with how close we let it get to the game and the security of the people who are involved in it. Because again, it does carry a weight. A lot of times the people who are gambling like this, money pays their light bill or pay their rent, and then the emotions that come from that. So I do think we're walking a fine line, and we have to be extremely careful in protecting everybody who's involved. There's no doubt about it that it's crossed the line. The amount of times where I'm standing up there and we may have a 10-point lead and the spread is 11 and people are yelling at me to leave the guys in so we can cover the spread, it's ridiculous. But again, I understand the business side of it and the nature of the business of it. But I mean, it is something that I believe has gone too far. In a recent game against Cleveland, Minnesota center Rudy Gobert said he feels gambling is hurting the game. He got fined $100,000 because during that game, he made a money gesture towards NBA official Scott Foster, implying gambling was influencing the game, the way the game was being called. He was fined $100,000, which is the max the NBA can give out under the terms of the collective bargaining agreement. And then he had some comments afterwards that went in that same direction. As somebody who enjoys sports wagering, I do feel like this is something we need to be wary of. I do think this is something we need to be careful about. We do need to kind of keep an eye on this. And I have said many, many times, I am a gambler. I love sports gambling. It's fun to me. All right. It makes games that I wouldn't otherwise care about that much more enjoyable. Yesterday on You Better You Bet, I gave out my 3 locks of the day. I gave up Colorado -2.5 over Boise State, which hit. Thank you very much. I gave up Golden State -9.5, which hit. Thank you very much. And I gave up Arizona versus Dallas in the NHL over 6.5 goals. Final score 5-2. It hit. Thank you very much. 3 for 3 on Rob Brown's locks of the day. And I gave up those bets, and I do a gambling show every Saturday. I fill in on other gambling shows. Not only do I have Bet for the Cycle on Saturday, but on Sunday morning, I'll be filling in alongside Hating Ass Mario on BetQL's five-star weekend, where we'll do some Sunday gambling. A lot of tournament talk in that one for sure. And we say every time, bet responsibly, don't bet more than you are able to lose, etc. And I feel like now I have to add one more to that disclaimer. If you are a fan and you are gambling, please don't directly contact coaches, players, and referees. I'm begging you, okay? Because I promise you, Tyrese Halliburton is not thinking about your 7-leg plus 700 parlay that you put down. He doesn't care, okay? JB Bickerstaff is never going to make a on-court decision because he's concerned that Scott and Greer, I don't know if that's a real person or not. If there's a Scott and Greer listening right now, my apologies. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the other Scott and Greer. But Scott and Greer laying down a 5-leg favorites parlay, JB Bickerstaff is not going to be sitting there thinking, all right, if we blow this game, Scott and Greer is going to be real mad because his parlay's not going to hit. You should not be utilizing gambling money as income, okay? It should be fun. Gambling money, I look at the same way as tickets to go see a game in person. If I buy a ticket to go see a game in person, what am I looking for? Entertainment. I'm looking to be entertained for 2-3 hours. Yeah, I'm looking to be entertained for 2-3 hours. I'm looking to go watch elite level athletes do elite level athlete things and not much else. I look at gambling the same way. When I put money down on the table, it is for my own entertainment. When I bet Dallas Stars v Phoenix Coyotes over 6.5 goals, I just do it so the game is something more exciting. And hey, if it hits and I win, it hits and I win. Rob Brown's a big, smart boy. Let's go. But this is wild to me. Now, I will also say this. Players do have to understand that just like when people pay the price of admission to go watch their team play in the regular season and they show up and the team stinks, and what do? Boo! They boo their own team, especially if they're like Philadelphia or New York or a team like that.
Hey, Philadelphia threw snowballs at Santa, remember?
I hate Philadelphia fans, except you, James. James, I love you. But all other Philadelphia fans are obnoxious, okay? When you show up and you stink, your fans are going to boo you. Gamblers feel the same way. I am not saying I am, going to be ruined if you don't get that, 18.5 points that I threw in a 3-leg parlay that I need you to hit for it to go through. What I'm saying is, obviously, I'm going to have emotion over that. Just like I'm going to have emotion whether, my Saints win or lose a game. Or just like you might have emotion if Clemson loses a game or South Carolina loses a game. You're going to have that emotion as well. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But don't reach out to players, okay? Don't. Now, the Shohei Ohtani story, because this one's wild to me, especially coming on the feet of all the stuff that's going on in the NBA right now. So, here's a timeline of what's happened. Back in 2013, Shohei Ohtani and his translator met as friends. Ippei Mizuhara. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. I'm going to assume I'm pretty close. Ippei Mizuhara. They met in 2013 in Japan when Shohei Ohtani was starting his professional baseball career. He played for the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters. Not the Ham Fighters. The team name was the Fighters, but the sponsor of the team was Nippon Ham. They're a processed food company, and so they became the Nippon Ham Fighters. And now they're the Ham Fighters. Shut up. That's awesome. So he met Mizuhara at that point, who began working as the interpreter for American player Chris Martin. Shohei Ohtani shows up with the LA Angels in 2018. He brings Mizuhara with him as his interpreter. Over the next 6 years, Ohtani wins Rookie of the Year, 2 MVP awards. Mizuhara stays his translator the entire time and acts in a number of other capacities, including as his home run derby catcher and workout partner. In 2001, Mizuhara, who had been working as the translator for Shohei Ohtani for almost a decade at this point, begins placing sports bets on DraftKings. He later meets Matthew Boyer, a bookmaker at a high-stakes poker game in San Diego. He claimed to have believed at the time that he believed placing bets through Boyer was legal. It was not. So, in September through October of 2023, 2 separate $500,000 wire transfers were sent to an associate of Boyer's straight out of Shohei Ohtani's bank account, so Ohtani's name was attached to it. The description section of the transfers read only loan. One ESPN source claimed that Boyer allowed people to believe Ohtani was a client to help his business. Now, Mizuhara later claimed that this was done after Ohtani agreed to cover $4.5 million of gambling debts. He said Ohtani was not happy about it, but that he would help to cover those debts to make sure that Mizuhara would not do it again. Ohtani was also said to have logged onto his own computer and sent the wire under Mizuhara's supervision. Asked why Ohtani simply didn't give him the money, Mizuhara said that Ohtani didn't trust him and, quote, didn't want me to gamble it away, end quote. Okay, it's a little fishy here, but we're not done. Back in October of last year, Boyer's home was raided by federal authorities with a search warrant inventory showing agencies' cash, casino chips, banking documents, a money counting machine, multiple computers, portable storage devices, and cell phones, and documents, ledgers with Shohei Ohtani's name attached. In December 2023, Shohei Ohtani signs with the Dodgers, gets the largest baseball contract of all time. In January of this year, federal authorities finally found Ohtani's name on the wire payments. In March of this year, Mitsuhara finds out that ESPN got wind of the story. They contact Ohtani's camp while the star is in South Korea, now. A spokesman tells ESPN that Ohtani transferred the funds to cover Mitsuhara's gambling debt, then made Mitsuhara available for a 90-minute interview where he laid out the story. Mitsuhara said during that interview, which again was like 2 days ago, obviously he, Shohei, wasn't happy about it, and he said he would help me out to make sure I never do it again. He decided to pay it all for me. I want everyone to know Shohei had zero involvement in betting. I want people to know I did not know this was illegal. I learned my lesson the hard way. I will never do sports betting again. And then yesterday happened. On the day where Shohei Ohtani helped the Dodgers get a season-opening 5-2 win over the Padres, an ESPN reporter asked the Ohtani camp about Mitsuhara's allegation that Ohtani was present and helped move the funds that he was going to be paid back. Ohtani's spokesman then contacted Ohtani's attorneys, and they disavow Mitsuhara's entire story. Shohei Ohtani's attorneys at Burke Brettler LLP released a statement that said, quote, in the course of responding to recent media inquiries, we discovered that Shohei has been the victim of massive theft, and we are turning the matter over to the authorities.
How can they determine that? That's the question.
Mitsuhara agrees to another interview with ESPN, but says he was told he could not comment when asked if he has been accused of theft. He declines to say who told him that. Mitsuhara then recants his original story, claiming that Ohtani had no knowledge of his gambling activities or debts, and that Ohtani did not make the wire transfers. The story is broken by the LA Times, which received the statement, and Mitsuhara was, of course, yesterday afternoon, late afternoon, fired by the LA Dodgers. So, with the changing of the story, understandably so, now there are conspiracy theories. Because Mitsuhara initially said, yeah, Shohei knew, Shohei agreed to pay my debt for me, Shohei agreed to cover me in return for me never gambling again. In fact, Shohei sat down at the computer and actually was the one that sent the wires because he didn't want to give it to me because he was afraid I would gamble it away again. Then, after this story breaks, now all of a sudden Mitsuhara is going, no, that's a lie. That's a lie. Actually, he didn't know. Actually, I just did it. Actually, he had no involvement. And oh, by the way, I'm not going to say if I've been accused of theft or not. All I'm saying is the people that are sitting here going, dude, was it Shohei that was gambling? Was it Shohei that was gambling? Now, for the record, I don't really care if Shohei Ohtani's gambling on sports. Everybody can. The only thing you can't do if you're a professional baseball player is, class,
bet on your own team.
Bet on baseball. Right, Pete? That's the only rule. So I don't particularly care if Shohei Ohtani was gambling unless he was making wagers connected to Major League Baseball, especially the LA Dodgers, where he is both simultaneously the best hitter and pitcher in baseball. Well, I guess I should say for the Angels, because boo. Anyway, the conspiracy theories are running amok right now. And it's absolutely fine that they do, because the changing of the story, let me put it this way. If the initial story stayed out there, if there wasn't this hustle to get the story changed to separate Shohei Ohtani even further from this story, honestly, it's kind of a non-story to me. It's kind of a non-story to me. I don't particularly care. Unless somebody comes up with evidence and proof that Shohei was gambling on Major League Baseball, I don't care about the story. if there were, regardless of who placed these bets, if there were no bets on Major League Baseball during Shohei Ohtani's Major League Baseball career, then I don't particularly care about this story. It's a no story to me. The changing of the story, the fact that now it is being reported that this money was stolen from Shohei Ohtani, that becomes very interesting. It is also worth noting that using a wire, which, quote, entitles the recipient to receive money or credits as a result of bets or wagers, end quote, is explicitly listed in the U.S. Criminal Code as a violation that can result in a fine or imprisonment for up to 2 years. Now it's a problem. Now it's a problem because the wire transfer that was made would be illegal. And I think, to me, this basically comes down to a CYA for Shohei Ohtani. And if this cat, Mitsuhara, is a longtime friend of Shohei Ohtani's, as he appears to be, if he's a lifelong friend of Ohtani, he might be willing to fall on the sword for Shohei. Why? Because remember how Shohei's contract is structured. He's making like $7 for the next 10 years, and then he's going to be making like $1 gazillion for like 30 years after that. If this guy falls on the sword for Shohei Ohtani now, then when that deferred contract starts kicking in a decade, if Shohei said, yo, you see my A now, and I'll see your A later, that sentence sounded weird now that I said it out loud. I'll cover your ass later. That's somehow better. And I'll cut you in on, say, 1% of my lifetime earnings during the duration of this contract, as long as you make sure I, don't go to jail. That might say something here. So I don't know. All I know is, as a gambler, I am begging you all, please don't look at these stories and think that these stories are indicative of those of us that gamble, because most of us aren't doing, this like at all. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, got a live read right here. Y'all stay right there. We'll be right back. Rob Brown Show carries on. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob, Brandon, and you here on an Upstate Thursday morning. We got Rashad Beard coming up in the next segment to talk a little Carolina Panther football with us. Looking forward to that. Do have some other stories we got to run through. We will start with some local stuff. By the way, 9 o'clock hour, we will open the SEC 2024 football schedule is out. We'll take a look at that. And then we will screw it. We'll do Fight Club. Why not? Let's do some Fight Club on a Thursday. I texted Lonzo this morning to see if he wanted to come on and do Fight Club with us. I haven't heard back from him yet. Lonzo's out there doing yard work and just ignoring us. All right. Everybody tweet Lonzo at Lonzo one word and tell him you want him on for Fight Club today. All right. He's going to say, I didn't put one together because he was out cutting his grass or whatever. Ignore him. Tell him we want Fight Club, damn it. All right. Yesterday, our Greenville Triumph on the road over at Columbia to take on Columbia United in the first and opening round of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup Challenge. A 1-0 win for the Triumph. And it was a shockingly intense game against the Bantams. Triumph sees the lead just before halftime off a well-executed set piece. Lion McKinnon's precise delivery found Leo Castro in the 45th minute, knocked home a beaut of a header to find the back of the net, gave Greenville the crucial advantage heading into the break. Greenville dominated possession, but the Bantams would not go away, came close to equalizing on several occasions, but there was a standout moment, a sliding save on a one-on-one matchup. Ensured Greenville held on to that 1-0 lead until the final whistle. Rick Wright said after the game, quote, the guys put in a really, really solid professional effort tonight. It was a very difficult start to play on, but we adapted and played really well. I'm real proud of the guys. They rose to the occasion. With the victory, Triumph FC have moved on to the next stage of the tournament, reaffirming their reputation as contenders in the Open Cup. The Triumph will return home this Saturday to take on Forward Madison in a Saturday night League One matchup. We wait to see who their opponents will be and the date for round 2 of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Good win. Good win. Very intense last night. Very intense. Got very chippy a number of times. Sebastian Velasquez. And I thought Brandon Fricky was going to end a dude's career last night, and I loved it. By the way, speaking of Brandon Fricky, he'll be on the show tomorrow. Looking forward to talking some footy with him. I thought my dude was about to end a career last night because one of the fellas from Bantam got into it, stepped over Sebastian after a clean tackle, a solid challenge, took the ball off the feet of our 10, and Sebastian went to the pitch after that. But the Bantam player kind of got down, got up, stepped over Sebastian, got down into his face a little bit. Fricky came over, and I thought Brandon Fricky was about to end a dude last night. It was intense. And listen, here was the thing. It got dicey. It got way dicier than I would have liked for the Greenville Triumph. That's a tough match on the road. It's a weeknight game. You don't really have the away contingent that you probably would have in the supporter section if this game was on a Saturday night, not at home. Tough matchup. They went there and finished. Which for tournaments like this one, for games like this one, that's what you're looking for. Just finish. Much like the NCAA tournament. Score, survive, advance. A 1-0 win advances you just like a 9-0 win does. Would I have liked to see a little more organization? Yes. Would I have liked to see this team go out, have a little bit more? And I don't say this to critique. It just is what it is. Would I like to have seen a little more composure in certain spots? Yes. Would I have liked to see a little more discipline, especially down late in the second half of that match where you have got SC throwing everything they have at you? I would have liked to have seen a little more composure. They gave a couple of free kick opportunities to SC that certainly threatened to equalize, that I would have preferred Greenville not end up in that spot. But At the end of the day, I think the other aspect of this is a Super Bowl style matchup for SC. This is a Super Bowl style matchup for the Bantams. This is one that every player on that team, the majority of which are guys who have not played professionally, are good, but good beer league soccer guys or young college guys that are getting their feet up under them before they embark on their professional career. They are playing for everything. Last night was a win that if they win that, they're taking a picture, they're hanging it on their wall for the rest of their lives. They gave you everything they had, survive and advance, because the deeper you get into this tournament, if you're the Greenville Triumph, the more that's you. One of my favorite sports memories since I moved here was 2 years ago in the Open Cup when Charlotte FC came to town. We had an MLS side playing right here in the GVL against our Triumph, and Greenville gave them hell that night. Charlotte FC rolled out with their B side, their B squad, and by the end of that night had 5 of their starters, their MLS level starters on the pitch because they could not pull away from the Triumph. And the supporter section was losing its damn mind. GVL, yeah. We were all over it that night because you knew if this game is won by the Greenville Triumph, that's a legacy victory for the, at the time, John Harkes-led squad. That is a victory that we as Triumph fans are talking about for the rest of our lives, that we were there when the Triumph knocked off Charlotte FC. That's what you had for Bantam. And as we get deeper into this tournament, it'll rotate back around to that for the Greenville Triumph, where we're the dogs, where we're the team that is going on the road and recognizing that a win is a legacy win. A win is a win we talk about within that program for years. That's why this tournament is so much fun. So congratulations to Rick Wright. Now 2-0, a pair of victories and a pair of games for the Greenville Triumph back home this Saturday night for a bit of a rivalry matchup against Ford Madison. Your boy will be in the house at Paladin Stadium for that, and I cannot freaking wait. Going to be a good one. All right, let's run to a break. When we come back here in just a minute, Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. Rashad Beard is going to talk to us about all the news and notes out of Charlotte, North Carolina. What's been going on with free agency? What are we looking at as we move towards the draft? Talk to me, Rashad. He'll do it when we come back. I'm Rob, Brandon in for Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate.
Sunday afternoon from the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas.
Now, how you start is how you finish, though, right?
One of those is a good way to finish. All right, guys. Apologies for doing this multiple segments in a row, but we're going to step away while we get Rashad Beard lined up. We will be right back. Rashad Beard, what's up, fella?
What's going on, guys?
How we doing, bro? You all right?
Good. Yep.
Glad to hear it. You gonna get any go to any tournament first round games today or tomorrow?
Nah, too busy. Got a lot going on, man.
I heard that. I heard that.
Hey, this other one doing me. What are we doing with the other person?
I don't know.
Offsides with Mark Ryan.
3 to 7 on the Fan.
Upstate.
Easter's on its way, and I wasn't going to let this year's celebration have empty baskets. That's why I'm so glad I went to Kohl's.
Rashad, do you know who that other guy was that just came in?
No.
Okay, I don't either. I don't know who that was. Some like random dude just popped up in the stream.
Yeah.
That was wild.
No idea. Unless it was Dave.
No.
Back on again. All right, 20 seconds.
I don't know who that is. I don't think I had any. I mean, I know I didn't schedule anybody else. So
New arrivals from brands like Charlotte Tilbury and Dyson. Shop the Ulta Beauty semi-annual beauty event online, in-store, or try pickup today. Now through March 28th. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful. Conditions apply.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan
the Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown, Brandon in for the great one, Lonzo. Today it is Thursday. You know what that means. Time to talk a little Carolina Panther football. And to do that, we welcome in one half of the Panther Nation podcast. You can find them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. But more importantly, make sure you go to YouTube. Make sure you search for and subscribe to the Panther Nation podcast. No better spot for Panther discussion than the Panther Nation podcast. My guy, Rashad Beard in the house. What's up, fella?
What's going on, guys? Happy Thursday. Yeah, we're here. Let's get it.
Yeah, we are. Well, we are. Listen, it's basketball season. We've got the
Christmas
tournament
basketball
starting up today. We got the tournament underway coming up here in a little over 3 hours at this point. But there ain't no off season in the NFL, Rashad Beard. We know that. So let's catch up with where we are. Let's start with your grade on the free agents. I don't know that the Panthers are done. They added another player, tried to go for 2 the other day. One had a change of heart, went back to Denver. Most of the guys you're bringing on now, I'm not going to say roster fillers. They can contribute in certain spots. A lot of special teams guys are making moves right now. But just your overall thought on the free agency period and the trades the Panthers have made over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I give it, if I had to give it a grade, I give it a solid B. I think what could lift it to an A would be to add another edge rusher. Right now, we're a little thin. I know we signed DJ Wanham and Clavon Chason, but none of those give me the feels in regards to replacing Brian Burns. So I think we need to shore that up, and that could happen in the draft. But we definitely need some help. But I'm going to give it a solid B. You did an amazing job. You signed 2 guards to protect Bryce Young. That was priority number 1. We talked about that all offseason. Going into the draft, we knew we had to bolster the offensive line. And so that's what we did in the first day. Got Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis. Love those 2 picks. And, you know, we've got some depth back there, too. We signed another offensive lineman, Yash Nijman, who played for the Packers. Solid rotational offensive tackle. Give us some swing tackle right there. Love the David Moore signing. Wide receiver depth there. Deontay Johnson, love that trade. I think he was undervalued up in Pittsburgh, and now he's going to come here and have an opportunity to show off his true skill set. So solid B, man. I like what we've done here in the Carolina Panthers this free agency period.
Now, as you know, the Panthers have had a relatively quiet, use air quotes, quiet offseason so far. Can you tell us what is the vibe going on around the town right now, knowing what we have seen the Panthers do? Can you see like enthusiasm or what's the feeling going on around there?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on because there's a lot of people that get attached to players, and so when you get rid of one of their players, I mean, we've seen it. So I think a lot of fans are dejected. When you get rid of guys like Christian McCaffrey, you get rid of guys like DJ Moore, you get rid of guys like now Brian Burns. There's some dejection going on. If I had to sum it up in one word, but at the end of the day, man, there is some excitement, a little bit of excitement around the coaching staff. I can only speak from my perspective. I think there is a little bit of hope, as one says in the chat. But I like it. I think we're heading in the right direction. You've got some real direction in regards to free agency period. So I'm cautiously optimistic, and I think we're heading in the right direction.
Let's talk a little bit more because I see the comment from Deontay down in the chat. He said, if you're adding taxes, it's to see that Brian Burns trade was terrible. Can't blame the front office, but only getting a second. Yikes. Rashad, we talked a little bit about this last week, and I'm still seeing the comments about it. The thought I've had the whole time is you got the best you were going to get. All right. Everybody else in the league ain't stupid. They saw the writing on the wall, the possibility, not probability, possibility that Brian Burns was getting tagged, coming back, and somehow asking for less money just didn't exist. And the writing was on the wall. So honestly, I think a second round is about as good as you're going to get, predominantly because that's with teams bidding against each other for this guy. Yeah, it sucks. But the NFL is a business. It's an industry. It grinds on as it ever does. To me, that was kind of the moment. Not just the hiring of Dave Canales, not Idzik, not any of that. That was the moment that I was starting to say to Panthers fans, you've got to understand, bro, this is a franchise reboot. You are the DC movie universe right now, and now James Gunn's in there. It's reboot time for everybody and everything.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but it's difficult for the average fan to swallow that pill, especially when you've been franchise rebooting for the past 3 years, right? You've seen now Christian McCaffrey, franchise reboot. You've seen now DJ Moore, franchise reboot. And so there's folks that are a little dejected when it comes to getting – and I agree with you 1,000%. I think it was the right thing to do. I think that, your defense is going to be able to still, do well without Brian Burns, given the way that Evero runs his defense. He doesn't need a premier pass rusher, and I think we're going to be fine. So they had to make a decision to let him go, and $30 million was just too rich for the Carolina Panthers, and you had to do what you had to do. So I'm not mad at it, but from the average fan, they don't see that. They don't understand the numbers behind it. They don't understand the future view behind it. And so I can understand from their perspective as well why it's a bit frustrating.
Do you see a big signing still coming, like Jadeveon Clowney? I know it was reported recently he was meeting with the Panthers. Do you see them maybe signing him to like a 1-year veteran deal?
Yeah, I see us attempting to get Clowney. The thing with Clowney is that he is not a fan of the offseason workouts. He's not a fan of OTAs. He's not a fan of training camp. So he typically, when he is in his free agent period, he typically signs very late. So what does that do to the Carolina Panthers? That puts in a situation where we have to draft a guy because we can't go into the season with Clavon Chason, DJ Wanham, and Amari Barno and DJ Johnson. That's not the group you want to go into the season with. So you've got to add some talent there. So we're probably going to draft a guy and hope that we can get a Clowney. I think Clowney fits exactly what we're trying to do. Again, not a premier pass rusher, but very good against the run. And I think that's where Evero kind of it makes his money. So I think that, yes, they do want to make another signing, and I hope that it's Clowney, but we'll see.
I mean, he's no Chase Young, Rashad.
Well, I think that of course you're gonna say that.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, but Chase Young coming off a neck procedure. I mean, who wants that? So you have fun with that. You overpaid and you got a neck injury, so you have fun with that.
Rashad, I mean, I can't not do it. Come on, dude. Rashad
Exactly.
Beard for the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. I mean, at this point, we're pretty much just all looking down the barrel to the draft, right? Like, there's still a couple of big name free agents out there. Mike Williams off the board. Didn't really ever feel like he was going to be legitimately in play after the trade for Deontay to Pittsburgh. Thought that had probably been a little too much money wrapped up there when you are sitting with 2 early second-round picks. Has there been any change in belief or heart or whatever from you about what the 2 second-round picks turn into for Carolina?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we have a couple positions of need. When you talk about, you still want to look for a center, right? So if Jackson Powers-Thompson happens to drop to second round, he's at the top of that second round, you want to take him, right? That's BPA pick. You slide him in a center, and that's going to be, our offensive line is going to be very good. But at the same time, there's going to be great wide receiver talent. Now, is there enough wide receiver talent to where you can get one in the 3rd round? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But also, we need an edge rusher. As we stated earlier, that group that you have, DJ Wanham, Chason, and company, I don't know if I feel comfortable with that. So edge rusher's got to be on that list. And also cornerback. I know we signed Dane Jackson, excuse me. But I'm not sure if he's that, a guy I want to, put my all my eggs in the basket of CB2. So I could see I could see cornerback, I could see edge rusher, I could see wide receiver, and I could see interior offensive line. So I don't know. The good news is that we have 2 picks in the top of that second round. So there's a lot of opportunity. You could trade back and acquire more picks. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The good news is that also that we set ourselves up for us not to have to be able to reach for anything, right? We're in a good enough situation where we're not desperate per se, but we're good enough to kind of get along with it and maybe just take take BPA literally. So I like the way things are sitting right now.
Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Between here and the end of April, I mean, obviously, like we mentioned, we're keeping an eye out on the handful of free agents. There's probably 4, 5, 6 good, I'm not going to say great, but good offensive linemen that are still out there that could plug a gap. Couple of wide receivers. I mean, maybe if he's interested, maybe you make a pass at an Odell Beckham Jr. or somebody like that. Between here and April, aside from Jadeveon Clowney, are there any names that you would personally like to see Dave Canellis and Dan Morgan make a pass at?
Man, I think the biggest one right now is probably going to be Clowney. From a wide receiver standpoint, I'm not really, because I believe in this draft and how deep the draft is, I'm not really, concerned or overly like, hey, let's go get a wide receiver. Like, we don't need Odell Beckham. Like, I don't think that's a major, somebody I'm going after. Linebackers interesting. I know we signed a couple of guys, but you may want to, we lost Luvu. I know we got Jewel here, but I don't know. That may be something you want to take a look at in cornerback. Is there any good cornerbacks, any solid cornerbacks out there? I don't have any names on the top of my head. But yeah, I'm looking at free agent corners and edge rushers for sure. Top of that list has got to be Clowney. And I'm not sure who else is out there at the moment, but it's Clowney or bust for me. Not really, to be honest.
There is an interesting conversation going on right now over in the chat right now. There was a question mark about Bryce Young and his conversations with Dave Canellis. Canellis said at the combine when he spoke to the media, Rashad, that for him, the priority right now is building that relationship. He doesn't want to enter the camp in a couple of weeks after the draft. Don't want to enter the camp with a guy in BY who doesn't know him. They're not familiar. Doesn't want to be the guy who's just yelling at Bryce, but more the guy that Bryce knows is trying to make him in the offense better. Then you had the response there that, hey, BY is not really a big media guy, right? Like, outside of the mandatory postgame pressers, we haven't really heard a lot or seen a lot, at least down here. I don't know if it's different up there in Charlotte. It has been a quiet offseason for Bryce Young. I think partially attributed to what a failure last year was, partially attributed to the guy's just kind of a quiet guy. Have you heard, seen, had any thoughts about Bryce Young as an offseason guy as we get to what is, to me, definitively a prove-it year for Bryce Young in year 2?
Yeah, I haven't heard much from Bryce, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, I don't want him all out there. You don't. I don't need to hear. What do I need to hear from him? Like, I think that he got his butt whooped last year, and I think he's just looking for this reset, looking forward to this reset as much as the fans are. And so I think as long as him and Canellis are on the same page, and I believe in Canellis, I believe he's going to be able to get the system right for Bryce. So yeah, there's nothing really that I need to hear from Bryce or need to see from Bryce. I've seen what I need to see at Alabama. I've seen what I need to see last offseason when he was prepping to come in for his rookie season. So I know Bryce has the talent. There's nothing I need to see or hear from him. I just would like to see it come the season and preseason and regular season that this system is doing right by him, and I believe that Canales is going to do that. So yeah, quiet. I like it that way. I don't need to see my guy out there, all in front of the cameras, and I'm cool with that. I'm good with that. We already got a quarterback. We got Cam Newton. We got enough quarterbacks in front of cameras that we need to go back and see. So we're cool with that. We're good with that. Let Bryce cook and let him prepare for the season. So I'm good on that.
All right, last one, and then we'll let you go, Rashad. I have told you, to me, wide receiver in the second round. I don't care if it's 33 or 39. It's just going to depend on who's available at wide receiver, who's going to be available at other positions. From what we understand, there was a pretty decent contingent of Panthers admin that was at South Carolina Pro Day. There is a cat down there by the name of Xavier Legette. Talk to the folks here in the upstate in South Carolina country. I think Xavier Legette is a legitimate possibility. I think it's going to depend on other names like Keon Coleman, the both of the kids down out of Texas, Franklin out of Oregon. There are other names that are kind of right there in that mix. Legette kind of strikes me, though, as a dude who, if he's brought to Carolina, will kind of feel the weight of being a Carolina guy playing for Carolina. I don't know if that intangible is enough for me to move him up the board over those guys. But then he opened his mouth and he talked like Randy Moss, and I was just all in on my boy immediately, Rashad. Immediately.
Yeah, that's funny, man. I had never heard him speak until that moment. And yeah, he definitely has Carolina in his blood for sure. He's got the accent. I like Legette. I think he has a talent that we don't quite have on the roster just yet. And I think he's going to be able to. And again, the beautiful thing about this is that we don't need to force him out there. You've got Deontay Johnson, you've got Thielen, you got Mingo, and so I think there's some talent around him that can help develop him. And I like him. I like him a lot. I think he's a very good wide receiver. The production, he had one solid year of production in Carolina, and so I think that there's some question marks there. But the talent, the intangibles are there. He's a big dude. He's running guys over. He's got the speed. I like him. I would not mind having him play for the Carolina Panthers.
My man, primetime Papa, or excuse me, yeah. Let's see. No, Mark Burke said Legette is country AF. He will be a dog 1,000%. That is the first dude, Rashad Beard, maybe ever, that I was like, like I could see him there. And then he talked, and I immediately was like, go get this guy. 33, 39, trade up to 22. I don't give a damn. Make sure that dude's in next year. Just on talk. I want him on my radio show tomorrow, bro.
Definitely got the Randy Moss in him for sure. That's pretty funny. That he definitely is country, man. That is a very interesting accent.
Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast, again on Twitter at Panther Nation PC, but make sure you search for and subscribe to the Panther Nation podcast on YouTube at Panther Nation podcast. Rashad, my guy, good to talk to you, buddy. Talk to you next week, brother.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. To the Panther Nation podcast army, appreciate you guys stopping by. The Rob Brown Show rolls on after this. It is the Fan Upstate. Sports Flash. The ACC is fired back against Clemson, hitting them with a countersuit in exchange with the lawsuit that was filed against the ACC by Clemson back on Tuesday. The ACC is seeking breach of contract damages against the school. They filed their countersuit in Mecklenburg County, same place that they filed against Florida State. A mainstay in college basketball spoken out against the expansion to the championship tournament days after Pete Thamel claimed discussions for an 80-team tournament were taking place John Calipari yesterday said he hopes the tournament stays at 68, saying the current format is great. And speaking of the tournament, it opens up in just a couple of hours from now. South Carolina has their first game against the 11 seed Oregon. That one taking place at 2 o'clock this afternoon. That's your sports flash. Back after this for the final hour of the Rob Brown Show.
Good interview, dude.
Rashad's great. Rashad makes it easy. All right, guys, going to step away for the top of the hour break. We will be back in just mere moments. Y'all, we are back. Yeah, Rashad brings the heat with the PMP Army, no doubt. No doubt. We've been doing pretty good on viewership. We were for like a couple of months. We were hanging out there around 30, and this week we've been hovering around 100. So I don't know where or what we hit, but I'm glad we did it. That being said, share it around, man. Put it on your social medias if you don't mind. The more we grow the show, the more likely it is I can keep my job, which I want to do desperately, actually. All right. Do I want to change, or do I just stone up and submit this thing the way I have it?
15 seconds.
Screw it. YOLO.
Industrial supplies. Real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call clickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
WORD Spartanburg.
The official sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. CBS Sports Live from the Philadelphia. And check this out. You're an official Rob Brown lockdown. Represents being real. Yeah. Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. Lockdown. This is the Rob Brown Show. Yeah. Only on
The Fan Upstate.
And And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The fourth, the final, the best hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Fan Upstate. Most excellent to have you here, my friends. Get in to the Rob Brown Show bracket selection competition right now. How do you do that, Rob? You might ask yourself. And if you have asked yourself that, well, here's how you do it. You shoot me an email to rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I immediately send you an invitation to the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge. Once you are in the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge, you will fill out your bracket. You will submit it to the pool. And the winner of this year's bracket selection competition, you will win an opportunity to come on this show and talk sports with me, to co-host a segment with me anytime of your choosing between now and next March. You can save it for college football rivalry weekend and come in here and just lay the verbal elbow down on your rival. You can save it for the World Series and come in here and gloat when the Atlanta Braves win the Commissioner's Trophy. You can come in here and you can talk Super Bowl when future Hall of Famer Derek Carr leads the New Orleans Saints to the Lombardi. However you want to spend your segment, you're welcome to do it. Email me, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. And please don't forget to fill out your brackets, because I'm looking right now at a long list of listeners who have submitted, a long list of listeners who have jumped into the bracket, and a long list of listeners who have not filled out their damn bracket yet. My dudes, my dudettes, you have 3 hours remaining. 3 hours, 7 minutes, and 34 seconds. If you want to be specific, you have 3 minutes. You have 7 minutes, 3 hours, 7 minutes, and 23 seconds before the brackets locked up. So rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Fire me off an email right now. Request an invite. I'll send you a link. You click on it. You head on over and you fill out your bracket. It is, my friends, just that simple. Jump in. Let's get that smoke. You got 3 hours to get it done. All right, let's run through a couple of stories we have not yet gotten to here on the Rob Brown radio program. Let's start with this. The Southeastern Conference has put out their 2024 schedule. And it's very, very interesting in how it's set up. The 2025 SEC football schedule looks a lot like the 24 SEC football schedule. The conference announced on Wednesday that each of its 16 teams would play the same opponents in 2025 that it does in 2024. Teams that are on the road in 24 will play those same opponents at home in 2025 and vice versa. The other big news that came out is that the SEC is sticking with its 8-game schedule for at least another season. The conference elected to stay at 8 conference games and 4 non-conference games for each team in 2024 with the additions of Texas and Oklahoma. Greg Sankey, commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, said, quote, "We continue to monitor changes across college sports as they relate to future scheduling. Continuing with our current format for the 2025 season provides additional time to understand the impact of the changes happening around us as we determine the appropriate long-term plan for SEC football scheduling." Now, the SEC announced its 24 schedule in December. The mirrored schedules in 2025 mean that Georgia will again face Texas and Alabama in games that will again be some of the conference's marquee events. That, according to Nick Bromberg, who covers college football for Yahoo Sports. He said the conference has been discussing the idea of a 9-game schedule for years, but did not officially move to enact that idea. Teams in the Big 10 and the Big 12 will play non-conference games in 2024. The ACC will stay at 8 games despite the addition of 3 more members. Bromberg says kicking the can down the road for another year gives the SEC a chance to see how the field for the expanded college football playoff unfolds over the course of the 24 season and 25 season, and some time to see what the legal wrangling in the ACC looks like, with FSU and Clemson both filing lawsuits against that conference. Those suits come, of course, at a point in time where the Big Ten and the SEC are set to not only make more money through their media deals than all the other conferences in college sports, but also through a greater share of revenue from the expanded CFP. That revenue disparity is at the heart of Clemson and Florida State's beef with the ACC, though it's currently unclear just where they go if they left their current conference. As I have mentioned, Clemson and Florida State will not be hurting for an invite. I firmly believe that Florida State would be an immediate Big Ten invitation. I suspect that Clemson would probably catch an invite from the Big Ten as well, though I think Clemson likely more of an SEC invite if and when they split from the ACC, but that is just speculation at this point. So, with all of that being said, I'm going to keep an eye on this. The SEC is going to have the same schedule in 25 as 2024, just flipped over the home and aways. I called that shot a while back. I have said for a while, I will say for a while again, it makes sense. Even if you do get a little additional boost to the playoffs, even if you do get that auto bye, which does appear to be off of the table, even with the auto bye, playing in the SEC is hard. And it does not make all that much sense. It doesn't make all that much sense for the SEC to play an additional SEC game when that just makes it that much more difficult to make it in. Doesn't make sense. Why would I add another SEC school to the table if I can go book Western Kentucky, if I can go book UAB, if I can go book Stetson, if I can go book East Carolina? Why would I book even a Vanderbilt, right? Because even a Vanderbilt jumps up and ends up grabbing the upset once in a blue moon. I'm not about that life. I'm not trying to make it easier for them. I'm just not. So this scheduling announcement from the Southeastern Conference really doesn't seem all that shocking to me. It is just a way to protect yourself from taking a dumb loss. If you are getting payouts, and you are, if you are getting payouts for the number of teams that you put into the playoffs, why would you make it harder for teams to get into the playoffs? You know your champ's going. You know your runner-up is going. You know the 2 teams that play in your conference championship are both going. So why in Hades' name would you add another possible L in conference to those teams when the teams that check in 3rd and 4th might check in as one-loss teams? They might check in as one-loss teams. So if you find yourself in a spot where the SEC champion is 13-0, the SEC runner-up is 12-1, but let's say both of those teams entered the conference championship at 12-0, and both the East and the West have an 11-1 team. An 11-1 SEC team that doesn't make the conference playoff is 1,000% going to the playoffs. 1,000% going to the playoffs. You have already seen now that if you have a team from the ACC that has the has a game better season result than a team out of the SEC, they're going to send them. They're going to send them. Florida State went 13-0. Alabama went 12-1. Florida State got the boot in favor of the Crimson Tide. Of course, you're not going to ask SEC teams to play one more SEC game, which is potentially one more SEC loss, and make it that much more difficult to end up getting in. Of course, you're not going to do that. That would be silly. All right, real quick, I'll mention this and then we'll get to the break. Kevin Durant. Lot of conflicting feelings on Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant away from the basketball court is a little out there. Kevin Durant on the basketball court is obviously an elite NBA player. That is not an argument. That is a statement of fact. Kevin Durant's also a dude that over the course of the years, I feel like could have had some monumental opportunities and they weren't capitalized on. Kevin Durant is now the 8th highest scoring NBA player of all time. With 10 minutes and 22 seconds left in the third quarter of last night's 115-102 win over the 76ers at the Footprint Center, he passed Shaquille O'Neal for 8th on the all-time list. Durant said after the game, quote, "Like I've been saying about stuff like that, I'm just grateful to be in the category with some of the greatest. We all know what Shaq meant to the game of basketball. To be up there with him is a major, major honor, in my opinion. One of the all-time greats in sports history. I know the game is much more than scoring. It's about winning championships, doing other things, but it's cool to be up there with those names." Durant is a 14-time All-Star. He is a no-doubt first-ballot Hall of Famer. He entered the game needing 9 points to pass O'Neal, came into the game with 28,588. Shaq retired with 28,596 when it was all said and done. He tied O'Neal with 8 in the first half, then reached 10 and passed Shaq in the third. Grayson Allen said it's really cool. Every 5 games, it seems like he's passing another legend, another Hall of Famer. It's just awesome to be out there. I try not to take these moments for granted, playing with such a great player. It's really cool. In his 17th NBA season, the 35-year-old finished the game with 22 points, put him at a total of 28,610 when it's all said and done. Shaq said on a video that played at the arena, quote, "Congratulations on passing me to become the 8th on the NBA's all-time scoring list. Well-deserved, but you know that doesn't stop there. Probably see you if you can get to number 1. As of right now, the all-time leading scorer, as we all know, because we talked about it a lot, is the King LeBron James with over 40,000 points at this point. So Durant, sitting at 28,000, has got a little bit of a ways to go. Somebody pointed out, somebody did the math the other day on the LeBron James number. I don't remember what it is exactly, but it's real close to. A player would have to score 24.5 points, playing every game of every season for 20 years to catch LeBron. A player would have to enter and start in game 1 of his rookie year, would have to average 24.5 points without missing a game for 20 years to catch LeBron James. This is why I've said, I don't really care how you feel about LeBron James personally. It doesn't really matter to me as an NBA fan. I recognize who the hell he is and what the hell he is. I want you to think about it. Kevin Durant is 35 years old. He has 28,000 points. He is 5 years younger than LeBron, and he is 12,000 points shy of LeBron James, right? 12,000 points shy. Now, I'm bad at math, but let's say that Kevin Durant scored 30 points in every game he played from now until he's 40. 30 points every game, including the playoffs between now and his 40th birthday. If LeBron quit at the end of this year, Kevin Durant would still be like 4,000 points shy of LeBron.
He needed to play in
So stupid.
146 games to get that total.
It's a stupid number. It's a stupid number. So anyway, Kevin Durant's still really good at basketball. That's just all there is to that. Let's take a break. When we come back, no Lonzo. Lonzo texted me a little while ago at like 9:03 a.m. and he said he just woke up and got out of bed. Lazy. Unacceptable. So no Fight Club. We'll push it off till next week, I guess. When we come back, let's talk about these brackets one more time because we are inside of 3 hours away from the start of the 2023-24 Men's National Championship Tournament. We'll break it down with a little more in-depthness when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Sorry, Twitter, formerly known as X. How's that?
March Madness is here, so the Cinderella is going to make the very deepest run. Plus, they created so much more.
If he scored 30 points a game, he played 146 games, he can get it. And I can't miss one game, though. He get it. That's crazy, huh?
Here's the Carolinas' most trusted forecast.
Thanks, Wesley. Appreciate it, bud.
Tonight, partly cloudy and only 48. Friday, chance for showers, cloudy, high of 57 degrees, and 60s for the weekend. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Burchitsky on the Fan Upstate. Currently, it's 57.
And now, Mark Ryan's morning
So
powered by Ingles.
I found out who that cat was that was in the stream.
Yeah.
It was a listener who wrote me and he asked for a link to the show. Well, I had copied the link to the stream to send to Rashad, and I forgot to go back and grab the actual link to the bracket.
Clemson argues, how do you expect us to compete in an era where the SEC and the Big Ten are making almost twice as much?
No one calling you out.
ACC schools will receive a total of between 40 and 50.
I wasn't ignoring it. I don't have anything to add to it. I mean, it's a ridiculous ass number.
Clemson just wants to compete, but the ACC is saying, you signed this deal. Do not blame us. And just like it is for you and I when we sign a mortgage or sign a lease, the ACC kind of has a point. We'll have to see if Clemson is made to sleep in the bed that it made. I'm Mark Ryan.
Offsides with Mark Ryan, 3 to 7 p.m. today on the Fan Upstate. Spartanburg and on the Odyssey app.
Ingles Markets is a proud sponsor of the Mark Ryan Sports Spin. From the playing field to the stands to your own living room, Ingles Markets has everything you need to fuel your athlete or satisfy all the hungry fans in your life. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Mark Ryan tells it like it is.
A woman in Nashville is suing a barbecue restaurant, claiming that the smoke from cooking barbecue interferes with her enjoyment of her home.
It was just a little country store.
No one just asked you if they could bump you to the afternoon drive.
I've been asked it many times. No, we will be staying in the mornings. The long and short of it is that the morning drive is on the same level as the afternoon. Actually, it's depending on who you ask. If you ask old radio guys, they will tell you that the morning drive is the most important show on any station because it's a mood setter. You have a large demo because with the afternoon, and this is just how it's viewed in the industry. In the afternoons, what you have is people who, yes, you have more people getting in their cars in the afternoon, but those are people that are headed home. And ordinarily, once you get to the house, for most people, when you get to the house, you're turning off the afternoon show. So you have that 5 to 6 o'clock hour. With the morning, it's people going to work And so you've got a good chance of people listening to you in the car, getting to the office, and then turning you on in the office and keeping a larger TSL is what they call it, time spent listening. And so because of the way I do the show, which is high energy, high intensity, never letting up, never slowing down, that is the kind of energy that you want in the mornings, A. B, even though I have to get up at bleep you o'clock in the morning.
20 seconds.
Even though I have to get up very early in the morning, I like that I'm done at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I have worked for like 9 hours. And so I'm usually good to take a nap, hang out with a fiance, watch some sports, and go to bed. All right. You have got my dudes, my dudettes, my friends, my colleagues, my compatriots. You have now just about 2 hours and 40-ish minutes. In fact, I'll give you an exact time. 2 hours and 48 minutes and 40 seconds to get your brackets filled out before the first games get tipped and we get underway on the men's side of things. So, we yesterday ran over some numbers, some thoughts as far as filling your bracket out, and I will continue down that path for you now with some things you might want to keep an eye on. Obviously, every single year we have some giant killers. Every single year we have a bracket buster or 3. Every single year, we have some upsets that kill off a large swath of the brackets. Who might they be this year? Who might be the giant killers in this tournament? And how do you avoid getting your giants killed, so to speak? I've got a handful of giant killers for you. I've got a handful of teams that I am interested in as potential upsetters. Number one, we have talked about New Mexico a number of times. New Mexico is one of the favorite first-round upsets. The Lobos are favorites in Vegas. They are seed upset only. They would be, if they win this game outright, they would not be upsets in that direction. Vegas right now is looking at this team. Jamal Mashburn Jr., Jalen House are one of the better backcourts in the entire field of 64. This group, the New Mexico Lobos, coached by Rich Pitino, that, of course, is son of Ricky Pitino. They're going up against a Clemson team, a 6 spot, that I said this earlier, that I think is a victim in Vegas of recency bias. I don't think that Vegas is looking, and it's understandably so. Sports is very much a, what have you done for me lately, baby? Ooh, woo, 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 woo type industry. I don't think people are looking at the Clemson team that went to Chapel Hill and knocked off UNC. I don't think people are looking at the Clemson team that beat one of the other 6 seeds, South Carolina. I don't think people are looking at the Clemson team that has as impressive a group of top 25 wins as anybody else in this tournament. I think that they are looking at a team that lost to Boston College in the second round of the ACC tournament, in their first game of the ACC tournament. And I think it's fair that they are doing that. But PJ Hall, is the name of the game. If PJ Hall has a better performance than the pile of you-know-what that he turned in that BC game, Clemson's going to win this game. Because while the backcourt is very good for New Mexico, I will match up Clemson's guards. I will match up Gerard with Mashburn Jr. I will stack up Clemson's backcourt and assume that they can. I just need them to hold serve. That's all. I don't need them to do anything special in this game. I need them to knock down their shots. I need them to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 14, 15 assists. I need them to hold serve, and I'm going to trust PJ Walker. If they get it done, they get it done. You know what's really funny about this? Last night, I was cruising around the internet because I was putting my bracket together, or at least trying to. And one of the things that I was doing was just gathering a conglomeration of takes about who the big upsets in the first round were going to be. And what I found was this. The number one selected upset in the first round, the most popular selected upset in the first round, was New Mexico over Clemson. Do you know who the second most popular upset in the tournament in the first round was?
I'd say probably Oregon and South Carolina.
It was the Oregon Ducks. The Oregon Ducks over South Carolina. Dana Altman is a guy who builds his roster for March. We have already seen the Ducks steal a bid by winning a few times in a row through the Pac-12 tournament. Keep in mind, they were double-digit dogs twice as a 12 seed in their conference tournament, and twice as a double dog, they got it done. Twice. They got multiple upset wins through the run there. South Carolina is a feel-good story for sure. South Carolina now has the opportunity to prove to America that they are more than a feel-good story. They are more than a cute narrative. They're actually a good basketball team. Oregon is an upset favorite around the country because of one reason. The 6'11" N'Faly Dante, who is playing his best basketball right now. Remember when I said earlier in the show, South Carolina knocks down their threes or they lose this game? The reason why is because a 6'11" monster named N'Faly Dante across the middle is going to rack up a lot of points off the glass. Offensive rebounds are going to be the key for Oregon, which means if you are South Carolina, you have got to make your shots because you're at a rebounding disadvantage on both sides of the floor. The third most selected upset across all brackets is another one that I'm actually real intrigued by. The James Madison Dukes. James Madison and UConn are the nation's two winningest teams, meaning the Dukes are not your ordinary double-digit seed from the Sun Belt. They are centered around TJ Bickerstaff, a 6'9" scorer who records 79% of his shot selection inside of the restricted area. This dude is going to get boards, and he is going to make you pay for it if you let him. After knocking off Michigan State in East Lansing, JMU has continued to catch people by surprise. This team is no longer the cute little underdog who could. This team is viewed as legit, and they are ready for Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a good basketball team. You will keep in mind that Wisconsin knocked off Purdue 76-65 in last Saturday's Rob Brown Show 5-star special of the week, of the day, of the month, of the century, of the millennia. Rob Brown threw a lot of money at Wisconsin. I think that line was sitting at like 7.5 going into that game against Purdue. It's the same reason that I like Purdue in this tournament. I do not like Purdue to win a championship this year. It's a good Wisconsin team. but it's a Wisconsin team that lost to Indiana, that lost to Iowa, not the Caitlin Clark one. They had a 4-game losing streak of Nebraska, Purdue, Michigan, and Rutgers earlier in the year. Wisconsin's a beatable basketball team, and James Madison's a good one. Here's another upset special, another team that's getting a lot of love from the brackets. Now, this to me feels very much like a narrative upset. This very much feels to me like America sometimes develops a crush on teams. You will remember a few years ago when Florida Gulf Coast became Dunk City. You will remember when UMBC knocked off Virginia, and they suddenly became America's sweethearts. Everybody wanted a Labradoodle or whatever the hell where they were jersey at the time. This feels like a narrative upset. This feels to me like an upset of people that are, just regular folks who have fallen in love with a team, and they are picking them in the bracket for the lulz. Grand Canyon University, GCU, is the 12 seed. The Lopes coming up against the St. Mary Gales. St. Mary's has not lost but one time since Christmas. Now, GCU is no slouch. They've won 29 games this year. They are 4th in the nation in free throws made per game. They are going to run it right at you in the paint. They are going to try to draw contact. They are going to try to get personal fouls. I believe they are forcing like the second most personal fouls per game in America this year. It has been a secret to success. St. Mary's is a good team. It's a disciplined team. They're not a team that I think is going to fall into foul trouble. And if Grand Canyon University can't get them into foul trouble, I think look, I got the Gales moving on here. My dog, PJ Glasser from the BetQL Network, who I hosted a show with yesterday, PJ's got the Gales in the Final Four. That's how good he thinks this 5 seed is. He's got the Gales in the Final Four. GCU is not upsetting the St. Mary's Gales. Sorry. They are the 4th most selected upset. 5th most selected upset in the bracket. This one I do like. UAB, the University of Alabama, Birmingham Blazes, taking on San Diego State, the Aztecs. UAB snatched the American Conference's auto bid, and they did so behind Alejandro Vasquez hitting threes and Eric Gaines distributing the ball out of the backcourt. Andy Kennedy is the head coach at UAB, and he is on some radars now. Andy Kennedy is being looked at as one of the bigger named candidates to make his way into a P5 coaching caliber job within the next year or two. They shocked the Shockers. They ran through USF. They knocked off Temple. Now they go up against one of the better defenses in all of college basketball, San Diego State. It's not going to be easy, but the models that I was looking at yesterday are giving UAB about a 1 in 4 chance to knock off San Diego. And I will tell you, as a basketball fan, a 1 in 4 chance is all I'm asking for. Here's one that I love. There's a guy in the college coaching ranks who goes by the name Will Wade. Will Wade used to be the coach for the Louisiana State University Fightin' Tigers. The last time the Fightin' Tigers were any good was when Will Wade was their head coach. Then they had the probe about improper benefits. He got let go by LSU. He finds his way to the McNeese Cowboys. They're a 12 seed. They're up against Gonzaga. Y'all know that not every year, because it didn't happen last year, but most years, somewhere, there's a 12-5 upset. Here's mine. The McNeese Cowboys over the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Gonzaga's won 14 straight first-round games. History is not on McNeese's side. The Zags are shooting 54% from the field. They are shooting 40% from range. Those are real good numbers. But much as I've said about teams that shoot threes, when you take some time off, when it's been 4, 5 days since your last game, that shooting percentage can come down. Here's why I like McNeese. They have 10 players on their team that average 13 minutes per game. They platoon. They keep fresh legs. They are unrelenting in their pursuit of the basketball. And Will Wade, with time to prep, is not going to get outcoached by Mark Few as so many other people have. I like McNeese over Gonzaga. I like them to throw a game at Gonzaga that Gonzaga has not yet seen this year. And this is not your grandpappy's Gonzaga team. This is not the team that is dripping with talent like Gonzaga Bulldog teams of years gone by. Give me the McNeese Cowboys as my 12-5 upset. Let me give you another one. Another one I like a lot. Another one that on a couple of brackets that I've listed so far before I've gotten scared and pulled the plug on them, I have had as far as the Elite 8. Don't turn your back on the Wolfpack. NC State. They got hot going into the ACC tournament. They had some big-time upsets. Look. It is the DJ and DJ show. Horn and Burns Jr. They both score. Casey Morcell plays on-the-ball defense about as well as anybody else in college basketball. So there are no easy possessions for anybody. And then they're going to get the ball in the paint. They are going to go through your chest to the basket with DJ Horn. The Red Raiders are a clear favorite here, but so was North Carolina a week ago, and the Wolfpack got them. I'm actually picking them to knock off the Texas Tech Red Raiders in the opening round. That's a 7-6 matchup. It's not a world of difference. It is an upset nonetheless. Give me the Wolfpack over Texas Tech in round 1. I got one more for you. Cat by the name of Achor.
Oh.
I called a game for this team. Well, I called a game for this team's opponents. I called a game for the Furman Paladins when they welcomed Samford to town. Sorry, Wofford, didn't mean to call you out like that. When they welcomed the Samford Bulldogs to Timmons Arena right up the road in Furman. Achor is a dude. Okay? He's a dude. He's a big boy. Here's what's interesting. Hunter Dickinson and Kevin McCullough Jr. are the two biggest stars for this Kansas Rock Chalk Jayhawk basketball team. Do you know what else those two guys have in common? They're not playing in this game. They're both banged up. The best big guy and the best scoring threat for the Rock Chalk Jayhawks are both on the bench for this contest with injuries. I am calling it now. I feel very good about it. Bucky McMillan and his Samford Bulldogs are going to be up for this game. Now, this is another one of those teams is Samford that they do two things very well. Number one, they throw an annoying, obnoxious, never-ending full court press platoon substitution style defense at you. They are constantly working fresh legs onto the floor. They are not giving you a second to breathe with a basketball. They swelter you. They never go away. They will need threes to drop. They need Ryland Jones. They need Jaden Campbell. They need those guys to drop some buckets. I'm not saying that you should extend Stanford deep into your bracket. I'm saying right now, one of my favorite upsets in round 1 is the Samford Bulldogs to upset the Kansas Jayhawks and break a lot of brackets. Give it to me. Those are my first round favorite upsets. Any you like, any you hate, I want to hear about it. 71307 is the text line. You can also jump in here at the last minute on the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone, 844-326-3663. That is 844-FANFONE. Let's hear what you got to say about the brackets. We'll come back and wrap this bad boy up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate, y'all.
That's Buckyball, though.
Buckyball.
Apparently, that's what he did at high school, too.
First round, South Carolina has the 6th seed. They're 26-7. Oregon, the 11th seed, 23-11 on the season. The matchup at PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh. Tomorrow afternoon, West Region first round in Memphis. 3:10 Eastern tip-off for Clemson. They have the number 6 seed. They're 21-11. They'll take on 11th seed New Mexico, 26-9 overall. Women's hoops on Wednesday. Presbyterian moving on. They beat Sacred Heart 49-42. Albany Regional first 4 matchup. They advance to face top seed South Carolina this Friday. The Gamecocks 32-0. Women's NIT South Carolina.
I told my wife, I was like, imagine how Presbyterian feels. She's like, what do you mean? I go, they're the smallest school in all of NCAA basketball, and they won last night. She goes, who are they playing? I go, oh, they're playing at South Carolina. She goes, that game's over.
Oh, that game's there. Didn't they already beat them by like 80?
Yeah, they lost 99 to 29. And they're done.
That's a bad draw. That's a bad draw.
Okay, congratulations, you guys. Go play the hardest team now.
Miami, UCF, and Florida State's. Then they get Texas A&M, Tennessee in Knoxville, Georgia in Jackson. You gotta be kidding me. These 5 games are all back-to-back. No bye. Georgia at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss at Florida State. Good night now.
Are you familiar with the Middle Ages torture device called an Iron Maiden? It's like a large box, roughly the shape of the human body, and the inside is lined with spikes. And then they would just slowly close the door on people.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's like for Florida next year.
Yep.
Number 1 for real afternoon sports talk.
Offsides with Mark Ryan.
3 to 7 on the Fan. The Fan.
Upstate.
This is the time of year to enjoy life. Stop letting the
Use the app called Outlier. It's a really good bet. No, I don't, but I'm going to write it down and check it out after the show. I will tell you right now, when it comes to gambling, there is no such thing as too much information, my dudes. The only thing too much information does is make you second guess your bets. And if you are second guessing a bet, you should not be making that bet.
No pills, no risky surgery. This is an all-natural solution. QC Kinetics has tens of thousands of satisfied patients who have reclaimed their mobility. Take action now and live your best life this spring and summer. It's a great use of your tax refund check, by the way. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. They're at 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772 in Greenville and Nashville. 864-448-3772.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Gabby.
Hey, Gabby, it's Jennifer Coolidge. Hi, I'm so glad I reached you at 2 a.m.
Oh, of course. Anyone with a Discover card can call and talk to a real person 24/7. Now, how can I help?
Yeah, I used my Discover card to buy these yellow pleather pajamas, and I'm just not sure I'm pulling them off.
24/7 U.S.-based customer service. It pays to Discover. Limitations apply. Learn more at discover.com/credit card.
Pluto TV is TV the way it should be, free, with over 300 channels, thousands of movies and TV shows costing zeros of dollars. So if you want to watch shows like Ghost, The Walking Dead, CSI, Star Trek, or The Price is Right, well, The Price is Right. It's free. Hit movies like Braveheart, Sonic the Hedgehog, Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, or Mean Girls won't cost you a thing.
Oh, 2 strikes away.
Everything is free. All you have to do is download
15 to 11.
By the way, is also free.
Hope you bet the over.
Stream now.
I almost bet the over last night, but decided not to. Wish I would have. I got to listen to myself more often, man. Every time I say I'm going to make a bet and I don't, they all cash. I did go 3 for 3 last night. Pretty happy with that.
New cars, used cars, electric cars,
And they won.
even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on.
All right, come back.
Just you wait. Auto Trader.
All right, dudes and dudettes, last call, last chance, last opportunity. You've got just over 2 hours until the NCAA basketball tournament gets kicked off and underway. By the way, we are final from Seoul, South Korea. The Padres knock off the Dodgers 15-11 is your final score. I hope you banked the over, which was like 9.5, because it cashed at 26 runs scored in this one. Yamamoto makes his rookie debut and he gets shellacked 4 hits, 5 runs in the first inning and chased immediately after it. So anyway, last call, last chance, last opportunity to get in on the Rob Brown Show bracket challenge. If you would like to get in here, now is your opportunity. You can get in all the way up until noon, but at noon, those brackets get locked and you are done if you're not in. If you would like an invitation to be in on the Rob Brown Show bracket challenge, I need you to email me right now, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. When you drop that line to my email inbox, I am going to send you a link back. You are going to follow that link and it will bring you right to where you need to be to fill out your brackets and to get in on the Rob Brown Show bracket challenge. Once you have done that, your bracket will be entered into the pool. Once your bracket's into the pool, all you got to do is sit down and watch Shooty Hoops for like the next 2 weeks and enjoy yourself. Just enjoy the run to the men's championship game. And the winner of our bracket competition this year is going to win the opportunity to come on this show and co-host a segment with me sometime in the near future. Okay? Now, if I win the bracket, my prize is that all of you are going to have to listen to me gloat about how much I know ball over the next year of your lives. That'll be my prize. My prize is knowing all of you have to listen to me gloat about how absolutely incredible I am for the next 12 months. So, if you want in, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Shoot me an email between now and noon. I will tell you right now, I am going to keep this laptop open. I'm going to keep the email address on the front screen. If you don't get a bracket invite, it is solely because you didn't send me an email. All right? I'm even checking my spam filter to make sure nobody ends up over in that folder. And so far, I haven't. So if you want an email address, if you want a bracket invitation, what you need to do, as Wayne did, he's got one coming to his email right now. As Mark did, he's got one coming to his email right now. Shoot me an email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. I'm going to leave the computer up and open so that I don't miss one. Once you send me the email, you'll get the link. I'll send it back to you. You click, you fill out your bracket, you got your shot. Texture said, Rob, violently hungover at work right now, gambling on college basketball. Not a good day for you, boy. I mean, the hungover part sucks, but you're at work gambling on college basketball? That actually sounds awesome to me. For the record, that's what I get paid to do. It's the best. That's it for us, kids. We'll be back tomorrow. We will break down the opening half of round number 1. We'll get set for the second half of round number 1 tomorrow. 16 games today, 16 games tomorrow. We're talking about all of them right here and only on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Yeah! One inning, 4 hits, 5 earned runs, a walk, and 2 Ks. What a day. All right, guys, y'all are awesome. I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you very much. Tell your friends about us so we can continue to grow the show. Have a lovely Thursday. I am going home to sit my fat behind on the couch and watch the 75-inch all day. Have a lovely basketball day, people. Happy basketball Christmas. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.